Good evening once again. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to another thrilling installment of Apostate Radio. This is our 5th episode, and I am, as always, Isaiah Carter, coming to you live from the County of Kings, the People's Republic of Brooklyn. My esteemed Effendi Nostra Chavez will be with us momentarily. Matter of fact, he's populating in right now. My brother.
Isaiah.
Yes, sir.
Let me see.
How are you, man?
Good. How you doing?
I'm all right. Been quite a weekend. I've been amongst a lot of flowers with the fiance. And we went to this event at Genesis House. I don't know if you're familiar with Genesis House.
No, I'm not. I was wondering what that was about. It's like a pop-up house?
No, so Genesis House is this so of course, those of you who may or may not know about cars, Genesis is Hyundai's luxury brand. So they have Hyundai, they have Kia, and then they have Genesis. So they've got two places in Manhattan where you can like look at the cars and even drive them without going to buy one. And so last week I made an appointment with my fiance to go check out the GV80 Coupe. It's basically Genesis's answer to like the BMW X6, the Benz GLE Coupe, shit like that. It's an amazing car. And so they went. So Genesis House. There's like a Korean. It was like a really nice restaurant upstairs, and there was like a special event. This guy, I think it was like a release party for a single, and they went there, and we went there, and they had like flowers, and they were giving people like flowers, like here, take them, and stood in a line, stood in the wind because it was a little windy right there by the water. It was nice. It was nice. It was a nice setup, nice time.
Date day.
Yeah, a little date day in the city. How about you, bro? What'd you do?
I watched some UFC last night with some family. What else did I do? What did we do Friday? I think we just chilled a little bit, hung out with the baby. Mainly chilled. Went the baby clothes shopping. You know, all that fun stuff, parent stuff.
I got you. Wow.
Yeah. Good old parent stuff.
Prayerfully hopefully that'll be my future soon.
I hope so. You'll love it. You'll be a great dad.
Thank you. I've been told that a lot. We've got a big show lined up for y'all today. We've got Mr. Paul Rossi. For those of you who may or may not remember, he was one of the very first here in New York City to really expose the rot of wokeness in certain areas within the Christian community here in New York City. He'll be coming on at 9:00. And then we also have in a few minutes, we have Mr. Joseph Pinion, who is a former, he's a New York State candidate. He ran for public office a couple of times. He has a few businesses. I'll be introducing him more properly.
I gotta say, I'm really looking forward to getting Joseph's opinion. Isaiah.
Yeah, me too, because he's got a very, very big thing that he's been covering to our north.
I'm sure he's gotten that many times in his life.
Oh God, I bet.
But being a dad, what kind of dad would I be if I didn't make a dad joke like that, huh?
The kid's not even a year old.
So
but I guess you got.
She'll be watching all these Apostate radio episodes when she's 6 or 7.
6 or 7, as much as we curse. Better keep that till fucking.
That's gonna be Miss Rachel.
Keep that till she's like 16.
I'm just kidding.
It's like, yeah, I know. This is like quinceañera territory, bro.
Yeah, it's quinceañera. Maybe for a quinceañera.
Oh God. So Joe's gonna. I want Joe's opinion. God, it's gonna be messing with me all night. We're gonna get his opinion, not just on what's been happening, what he's been covering upstate, but also I'm gonna talk to him about some of the stuff that we covered in our emergency broadcast earlier last week, where we talked about the debacle that was the Democrat response to the joint session speech by President Donald Trump. That's gonna be, because there was some action not long after our broadcast. Turns out homie got censured by the House.
Who's homie?
Homie is Al Green.
Oh,
Congressman Al Green.
What was it? Pimp Master Splinter?
That's Pimp Master Splinter. That's Pimp Master Splinter.
Took time off from training the Ninja Turtles.
To
get thrown out of Congress by Trump.
Do you have any idea how flippin' embarrassing that is? Like, if someone like seriously, like, I don't care what your opinion is on, like, whatever your opinion is about Donald Trump or JD Vance or whatever. The fact of the matter is, in such a deliberative body as the House of Representatives and in the United States Senate, there are standards. Okay, there are standards for decorum. There are standards for decency. No matter what you think of a candidate's of a members of Congress's politics, no matter what you might think of their, whatever role they play in your pet project, as it were, the fact of the matter is, there is a certain level of decorum that must be followed in such a place as the halls of Congress, as the Senate, as within the Senate. What we saw from the Democrats was a complete abandonment of all of that. We saw an abandonment of values. We saw an abandonment of standards. It's like, now it's like the era of the hood rat has. Nah, I'm being dead serious.
Well, no, we have that video. I don't know if you're gonna show that later, but that basically is a good way to sum it up, man.
Bro, this gonna be a hood rat summer. This is gonna be a hood rat summer.
I hope not.
Well, listen. The couple.
I know you're right, but I want to openly wish that is not the case.
I hope and pray not. I hope and pray not.
Deep down, I know.
Listen,
hood rat summer.
It's. I'm gonna say this as a black man, okay, and I'll have a little bit more to say, like once Joe gets here. He should be here in a couple of minutes. It angers me. Like the main reason why, it's funny because my fiance and I were having a conversation yesterday about why I left the Democrat Party. And the main reason we were talking about, she was trying to challenge me to think like beyond the betrayal that I feel.
Mm.
Okay. And I'm like, because she's I cannot figure out Kareen's politics. I just can't. I can't do it. Like I've tried, and it's like, okay, just when I think there are times when I think like she's this far, this far leftist that I got away from.
Oh,
And
interesting.
then there are times when she sounds like me. Like
Hmm.
I was listening to, and what's crazy is last week I was listening to I was listening to Tim Dillon's episode of with Steve Bannon, and I listened to the whole thing.
Oh, I want to listen to that. I love Tim
God,
Dillon.
that was amazing. And what was even more amazing was Steve Bannon sounded a lot like my fiance, bro.
Wow.
Like in terms of like the economic stuff, in terms of caring for the poor, and just a lot of the shit that you would not expect. You wouldn't expect that out of someone who is typically thought of as a right winger. And that's really, and matter of fact, while I have you, why do you think that is? Like, I've seen more betrayal of values. I've seen more betrayal of the things that they stand for. I've seen more of this from the Democrats. It's like I've sat and watched as these people have abandoned unions, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
They've abandoned the middle class. They are actively making things harder on the middle class in terms of making things more expensive, more regulation, making it like damn near impossible to own anything. Like sometimes you actually wonder if we aren't in the era of you will own nothing and you will be happy. It just makes you.
Oh yeah, I think
makes you think.
we're definitely entering that. Why do I think that is? Well, I think when the Democrats kind of won the culture war with under Obama, just like a lot of probably almost anybody, if they're in enough power, have enough power, and no transparency, nobody keeping an eye on them, human beings can be very corrupt, right? So you're talking about like Obama, maybe even Trump, maybe even Biden on the way, like in the uniparty in general, liking the way things are and just taking a little bit more money, taking a little bit more, helping out the lobbyists a little bit more because they can. And it's like, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't really hurt the middle class that much. I just want to make, 100 to 200 million net worth as a senator. I want to reach that. Right. So there's more and more corruption. And then with the Democrats, especially, it's like, you don't have the news looking into them. Right. So the news is not interested in making Obama look bad, most of the legacy media. And that legacy media controlled everything until maybe 2014, 15, 16-ish, where things started to change a little bit, and then a lot quicker, like more recently with the, this last election. Then we really seen independent media really become dominant.
Yeah.
But and that was a slower thing, right? Because people at first didn't want to hear things from, didn't trust podcasts, and all the experts didn't trust podcasters or something like that, or independent journalists. So when you have a whole thing where people are Democrats are able to work, and in the uniparty as well, because there's Republicans that are corrupt as well, working together with them to just constantly see how much they could fleece the middle class, the working class, fleece. Oh yeah, let's force everybody to go to college and spend, put themselves in a mortgage of debt and pretend and give them degrees that are absolutely worthless for jobs that aren't even going to exist in a little bit. They'll be all right. They'll figure it out. As long as we all get money, as long as universities get money, it's just a big corrupt thing, right? And people just look out for themselves. And if you have the journalists being like, hey, Obama, he definitely deserves to have a Nobel Prize just for getting elected. And Obama's
just for getting elected, yeah.
And we're not gonna get him in trouble for we're not gonna talk about how he did so many drone strikes in the Middle East or bombed the wedding or all the things that he did, and then we're gonna pretend like Biden's a great president and he's totally sharp, even though clearly he was, at least for 3 years, but it seems like maybe all 4 of those years he was out the fucking lunch. It's senile. and we didn't have a person in the White House. And
Yeah,
but the media is not interested in that. The media is not interested in helping Trump whatsoever or conservatives whatsoever. So that's a big part of what happened. They got corrupt. Yeah. Nobody is looking at them until recently, and with independent media.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring in my good friend here. He is a former Republican nominee for the United States Senate. He is a TV host and political analyst. I've seen him on a couple of times in recent, matter of fact, over the last several weeks regarding this issue. He is the founder and managing editor of Pinion Equity Ventures. And he has been covering one of the biggest stories that no one is talking about in the mainstream media. I haven't seen this. Well, I'm not calling it mainstream media anymore. We're calling it machine state media. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you my friend, Mr. Joseph Pinion. What's going on, brother?
Always good to see you, my friend. How's everything going?
Good to see you, man. I've been all right, man. I've been all right. You were on here with Mr. Nostra Chavez.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Mr.
What's
Pinion.
going on? How are you?
Happy to have you. Very good. How are you doing?
You know, just another Sunday in an insane state. So we just do what we can.
Just definitely get into that.
So let's get started, because Joe, you have been on the front lines of a massive story here in the state of New York. Apparently there is a strike going on upstate, and it involves correctional officers. So if you could just tell us, man, what is happening up there, and what should we know?
Well, look, let's start from the very beginning, because we have to assume most people don't know anything about this story, because to your point, whether you want to call it machine media, legacy media, the real story of what is occurring all across New York State has not been told. But here is what has happened. Back in 2021, Democrats, by virtue of the tyranny of one-party rule here in New York State, after a 2 to 4 year conversation about prison reform, passed what is called as the HALT Act. The HALT Act is colloquially referred to as this prohibition on putting people in solitary confinement. Specifically, if you actually dig into the reality of what that means, we haven't had solitary confinement in New York State in a very long time. But what HALT did do, which has had a drastic impact on the safety or lack thereof that occurs in our prisons, is prevent people from being thrown in specialized housing longer than 15 days within any 60 or 90-day period of time, depending on how the numbers look. And so we have seen, since HALT went into effect, starting in 2021, over 100% increase in assaults of inmates on correction officers. More specifically, for those people who are criminal justice reform minded, we have seen, depending on how you measure the numbers, anywhere from a 150 to a 180% increase in inmate on inmate assault. And so you have correction officers who feel as if their hands have been tied behind their back, while they are less safe, and more importantly, while the people who are under their purview are less safe as well. And so now you get to where the rubber has met the road, where you have had a very difficult time getting more correction officers to sign up for the job. And then you have a commissioner that released, in the wake of a no confidence vote, by the way, a memo that dictated that the 30% deficit in staffing was going to be permanent. That means that we are understaffed to the tune of 30%, and they wanted to make sure that the 70% was a new 30%. Any expert out there will tell you that you need to be around 90% for prisons to be safe, for them to function properly. And bad things happen when you have dangerous people in an environment that never brings out the best in anyone, being placed in a situation where the safety mechanisms have been reduced. And so the correction officer said, enough is enough. Some of the issues that they are talking about, things that the average person at home probably does not know. The state of New York has spent millions of dollars on screening equipment, the same equipment that you and I all walk through when we go to the airport. Well, guess what? If you go to a prison in the state of New York, depending on what facility you go to, the screenings are optional. Depending on, yes, I'll repeat that. The screenings are optional. So if you're trying to go to Aruba, you got to go through the TSA screening machine. If you're trying to go to Attica, trying to get into that room, you probably don't have to go through the screening machine. What people also don't seem to realize is that if you are caught trying to introduce contraband, aka an improvised weapon, drugs, or anything thereof into a prison environment, as the meme says, you go straight to jail. No, you do not go straight to jail. You probably just get to go back to your car to put it into your car and maybe try next week to come visit one of your loved ones.
Try again.
This is the lunacy that correction officers were dealing with when they decided to walk out the door. And perhaps the catalyst to this walkout, you had about 30 individuals up at Upstate in Franklin County, around Bear Hill. There's a few facilities around there that were all exposed to an unknown substance. Now, we can all suspect what the substance would be in this fentanyl craze that we're living in, but we can't say what the substance is because we no longer do the testing on premises at the prisons. But 30 individuals.
Come on.
No, again, but 30 individuals found themselves fainting, nearly losing their lives, including one nurse who found herself Narcaned, not once, not twice, not 3 times. Over 4 times she was Narcaned. And the result of all of this Narcanning, besides the trauma, besides the family feeling as if the work environment has finally gotten to a level that is completely unacceptable, she lost a child in all of this. And so these are the stakes.
That's crazy.
Hold a second. This is a correctional officer, a female correctional officer?
A female works for a nurse working in corrections. Who found herself exposed to this substance. By the way, the official position of the state of New York was that they were not exposed to a foreign substance, was that they were all experiencing some kind of mass hysteria event.
Wow.
So again, when people start to understand what's really happening here, Kathy Hochul stands behind the podium and says illegal strike 30 times. You have people who are paid money to investigate stories doing no investigation. She tries to invoke words like the Taylor Law. The Taylor Law does not exempt the state of New York from actually having safe work conditions. And it's in fact part of the Taylor Law requires those safe work conditions on top of the obvious state laws that prescribe that we have to have safe work conditions. So that is why you had about 14,000 correction officers who've gone out on strike. Since they have gone out on strike, they have been bullied, they have been ignored. The state of New York has broken so many laws trying to induce them to come back to work that it is hard to keep track. Some of those broken laws include stripping people retroactively of their health care and then trying to prevent them from being able to purchase Cobra. You had an individual who showed up for cancer treatment, has multiple brain tumors. This is life and death for them, only to find out that not only was their health insurance canceled and they could not cover that day's treatment, but any treatment they had received going all the way back to the 17th would not be covered. So this is the craziness that's happening here with New York State, with them now trying to tell people, come back to work and we will reinstate your health insurance, but there will still be a gap in coverage. Gap in coverage is a really fancy word for saying children are going to be showing up for dialysis without coverage. People are going to be showing up for cancer treatment without coverage. Individuals who legitimately need medicine are going to be showing up at the pharmacy without coverage. So what they have done is crazy. It is insane. And the fact that the media is not covering it is in fact a travesty unto its own self.
Go ahead, Nos. I'm
your head. It'll make
Opinion.
your
What
head
do you?
spin, man.
That's a lot.
It's hard to digest it all.
Why do you think? Exactly. Why do you think the media is not covering it, Mr. Opinion?
Look, I think the unfortunate reality is that there is a reason why, no matter what state you're in, you traditionally find prison facilities in counties that over-index for poverty. You see correction facilities in places where you have individuals and communities that have limited other opportunities when it comes to the work environment. And so we place prisons in counties that New York State has quite simply written off. We have placed prisons in counties the Democratic Party no longer counts on for political support. And as a result, you see how they treat the people that live in those counties, and you see how they treat the people that work for the state within the boundaries of these counties with absolute utter disdain. We had a woman, I'm not going to repeat her name because she doesn't deserve the attention, but she is effectively the tip of the spear for the monstrous behavior of the state, did a press conference with the commissioner, gleefully correcting the reporter about the numbers of people she has kicked off of health insurance without a single care in the world for the fact that she was destroying lives and using economic coercion to try to bring people back to a work environment that they haven't made safer. And so I think all of that, the tonnage of that, is why you see what's happening here. Kathy Hochul knows she can't win a primary if she actually repealed HALT, because the people that put HALT in place are individuals that care about how prison reform looks on paper, but do not seem to care about the realities of prison reform when it comes to the actual implementation.
One question, Joe. What does HALT stand for?
Right, so it's that humane. What is that? Humane alternatives to long-term. What is it?
Incarceration.
Whatever the T is. Who the hell knows? The T stands for terrible, in my humble opinion, right? And I think, and look, there are a lot of good things that come from HALT, right? There are additional programs that come for individuals that are behind bars, right? And I think much of the focus on HALT at the beginning was this fact that they were actually putting these programs in place for people that were incarcerated, right? To figure out if they could develop skills and things of that nature to occupy their time while they were behind bars. But in an environment where you end up having individuals that have by virtue of this reduction in the staffing, now you have people that should be in a maximum security prison, in a medium security prison, right? For cost reasons and also for staffing reasons. So all of a sudden, a person that effectively should have 2 to 4 guards that are going from place to place with them are finding themselves in dorms with multiple people where you have 1 or 2 guards watching 50 people at a time. That is a recipe for disaster. And now it becomes worse when this person who is a bad actor in society becomes a worse actor within a prison environment, and they know that they can't be placed inside of the actual facility, inside of a specialized housing unit for longer than a period of 15 days. And so, as I've said, prison is not daycare, but even kids that misbehave can be put in timeout. When you know they can't be placed in timeout anymore, watch out. Bad things start to happen. So I think that's what ends up happening here. It just becomes a very tricky situation here where people are finding themselves under siege and under attack on a job that was never easy, that was always high risk, but now has become so dangerous, in fact, that in many ways it violates the core tenets of workplace safety, no matter how you slice it.
Becomes not worth it to go to work. I just want to say real quick, it sounds like, and I think you already mentioned a statistic that speaks to this, but it sounds like this is also very dangerous for the prisoners and inmates themselves, right? To have a guy who's in a dorm with a bunch of people with less guards, so guards aren't necessarily going to jump in and help if there's we might get killed ourselves, and we definitely don't want to kill these guys because we're going to get thrown into prison if we kill somebody or harm them or something like that. So let's just, I guess we're gonna have to sit and watch, or maybe we're just not going to be able to be there at the moment. And somebody can get killed very easily. So it's like if you're a Democrat that doesn't care much about police or correctional officers or anything else besides the criminals, which is often the case with the Democrats, it seems like lately, shouldn't you at least care about the inmates?
Well, I mean, that's the point that many of us have made, is that take out the inmate on correctional officer assaults, which should appall anybody. I mean, if you get on an MTA bus and you assaulted the bus driver, you're going to jail. We've got people in here who are stabbing correction officers, right? They're slicing correction officers across the face. They're not even going into specialized housing for an extended period of time, much less catching new charges when they're inside. So, you know, we have a criminal justice system that's delivering justice for no one, including the law-abiding citizens on the outside who are depending on us to actually do some correcting, to actually be releasing people in society that are better off than when they went in. And I think to that point, that's why you see that the actual amount of assaults on inmates, from inmate to other inmates, is through the roof. It outpaces the inmate on correction officer assault. And I would remind people, those are just the numbers that we have. So many of these actual attacks they have become so pervasive, it's very difficult to track the numbers. If most people being honest, they would say that some of these things they don't even bother to write down on paper anymore, unless it results in an injury that is just so absolutely heinous that it has to be documented for posterity. But the numbers, the real numbers, when you talk to these people, are through the roof. And so I don't know where you would have people that say they care about the rights of incarcerated individuals, which is their preferred language, and then turn around and have no care for the fact that we've got a 150, 170, 200% increase on inmates being assaulted, incarcerated individuals being assaulted, and somehow that statistic doesn't bother them, all in the aftermath of HALT being put in place. So, you know, look, correlation is not causation, but we passed the law, and all of a sudden, we have assaults going through the roof. And many of the things that people are trying to talk about in the quote unquote repeal of HALT deal directly with many of the things that are directly leading to these assaults, right? People that would otherwise have been in specialized housing if they had the ability to be placed in specialized housing. I'll take it a step further. You have, you know, we used to have a thing called protective custody, right? Now you have limited the ability of individuals to put inmates in protective custody involuntarily. What does that mean? That means that any person who is inside of a prison and has come forward and spoken about drugs being brought into the prison, has been talking about contraband being brought inside the prison, things that are dangerous for themselves and the correction officers. Well, guess what? If they get put in specialized housing, now everybody knows that they are, quote unquote, a snitch. They will never be able to do a peaceful day of their time ever again. So all of these policies that have been put in place make life a very dangerous place for many of the people that are simply just trying to do their time. And when we have these terms, quote unquote, who was the model incarcerated person? I mean, everyone who's in prison in New York State these days has probably done something, but some people are just trying to repay their debt to society. They're not trying to leave in a body bag. And so we have created policies that have made it very difficult for people to know that they're going to be able to do their time and get out when it's over without having their life dramatically altered by some form of violence or some other form of attack.
Yeah, and these are people who are people like family members, and some of these people, like, you know, maybe they made a mistake and they were rehabilitated and they live really productive lives in the community. So it's like people, we should also worry about them as well, but especially the correctional officers who already had an extremely dangerous job. It was already super risky. There's already always a chance they're going to get killed or seriously injured, and now it seems like there's a really high chance, or a much higher chance, and then it becomes you just have to make a decision. It's like, why do I really want to go to a job where there's a 30% chance I'll get killed, you know, this year or something like that? It's like that becomes not worth it anymore.
Well, I mean, look, put it this way. Again, I always tell my friends on the left, I don't get to tell you what to believe in, but I do get to demand you be consistent. The state of New York has decided that we do not want to be investing in private prisons. We don't want to be even touching private prisons, even tangentially. Right. So we have divested of any fund that invests in private prisons. We have made it illegal for people in New York State to be housed in private prisons. Well, I got news for you. If you've made it impossible for correction officers to do the job, if you have demonstrated, as the state of New York has over the last 2 weeks, that you don't actually give a damn about anybody who wears that uniform and goes to jail every day on your behalf, you're going to have no choice but to have private prisons, because those are going to be the only people that are willing to do the job. So as is always the case, and not to get off track, but whether we're talking about people who say they want to reduce emissions and then shut down Indian Point in Westchester County that was providing 30% of the actual energy for the metropolitan area. And then they're shocked that carbon emissions go up 28%. Or we're talking about people who refuse to make any adjustment to HALT, while the people who are dealing with the consequences of the HALT Act are finding themselves unable to do their job. And the people that they're supposed to be able to keep safe are finding themselves brutalized on an increasing basis. Yeah, eventually you have to confront the fact that I'm not saying your intentions were not good, but the results here in the real world with the rest of us do not match the expectations you had on paper. So changes need to be made. And I think that is simply what people are talking about. The governor keeps making it about money. The commissioner keeps coming back with these rebuttals that include more money. Here's the crazy thing that I tell people. They're asking for more people to be hired, right? That means currently in the state of New York, we budget for $240 million a year in overtime for corrections. That's in the budget. We don't have an emergency session to get more money to staff the prisons because we've already built $240 million into the budget for overtime pay for the prisons. So ironically, if you actually think about this, what they're asking for is to make less money. Actually, they're trying to make probably between $150 and $200 million less than they're currently making. They're saying the money's not worth it because we are not safe, because the job has become an unmitigated nightmare. And we have people that are doing the political shuffle to make sure that the extremists on the far left can be appeased. And so here is the crazy dichotomy. If you did a silent vote inside of a prison today, I guarantee you the overwhelming majority of the incarcerated people in most of those facilities would vote to make changes to HALT. But no one is going to make that vote when they're living 500 feet away, 50 feet away from a murderer that doesn't want a single change made to HALT, right? I could tell you stories about a regular Joe sitting in a regular medium security prison who's got jars and bottles with urine inside of it, not because they are a hoarder, but because they're being extorted to use the toilet. And so the only time they can afford to pay to use the toilet is when they have to go number two. It's not cost effective for them to pay the actual extortion money to go number one. This is what's happening in the prison. And that's not going to show up on your incident report. That doesn't show up on the levels of assault inmate on inmate that are occurring. But I guarantee you that is an assault on that person's character, that is an assault on that person's dignity, and the people that are responsible for putting him in a situation where he literally cannot afford to use the bathroom are the people that would probably find themselves in specialized housing more regularly if that were an option. But it is not an option because of the actual paradigm that exists in the state of New York because of HALT.
So let me ask you this question, because this is heavy stuff. This is even heavier than I imagined. When did the National Guard get involved? Because I do have one thing that I wanted to I think this is the correct clip here. Where they talk about the National Guard coming into what is it, Sing Sing? I think is where this is currently.
Well,
but
yeah, go ahead.
No. I think this is where it is, but I'm gonna play the clip, and then you can we could talk about it on the other side.
Concern for Kathy Hochul should be dealing with the very real concerns of the men and women you see standing outside of this facility today. They are not here griping over money. They are here because they believe that they are going to walk out of their door and not be able to return home to their families. Let them out! Let them out! Let them out! So we're here in Franklin County trying to, number one, figure out if these 14, maybe 18 officers that are ready to walk off the job are actually going to be allowed to leave.
HALT's not working. We need help inside to make sure that our families and our friends are safe and working conditions, and not just security. We have a lot of civilians that work inside of there that we're in charge of their safety.
I worked 30 years for the department. I retired from the facility across the street here from Bear Hill. During my tenure in there, we had discipline, we had order, and the vast majority of the inmates in those facilities want order and discipline.
This all began back in 2021, really 2019, when they first came up with this insanity called the HALT Act, you know? And from there, I mean, it was just been a fire hose of nonsense, day after day, the cutting back of the staffing. People realize they've been pushed to the edge and standing up for what they believe in. And, you know, however long it takes, you know, we'll keep coming back, we'll keep supporting you guys and just letting you know that, you know, we're gonna get through.
This is the most insane shit I've ever seen in my life. No. I'm being no. Listen, I come from. I think I told you this the last time I saw you, Joe. My father is a retired correctional officer who worked 20 plus years with the Baltimore City Detention Center.
Yep.
Okay. Conditions were bad, but they were never that bad. They were never so bad. I mean, it's like I never imagined that the Democrat Party, the party that claims to be for the middle class, that claims to be for municipal workers, and technically correctional officers fall in that under that umbrella, right? Within police, fire, EMS, transit workers, stuff like that. They are technically municipal workers. I know upstate is a little bit different. We are seeing something that I never thought possible, which is the Democrats are now starting to come after blue collar union workers.
Mm.
I have never seen this in my life. I'm seeing parallels of it with transit because especially when it comes to bus operators, where and also there are some things going on where these kids will have attacked train operators and conductors and will steal their tools and their keys, and then later on will then commandeer trains to take them where to go on joyrides. My question to you is, why has Kathy Hochul decided? It's actually a two-part question. Do you think this is the first major salvo in a Democrat war against the municipal worker? And the second question is, why has Kathy Hochul decided that this was the fight that she wanted to pick?
The easiest way I can explain that is that most bullies pick on people they think they can get away with it. Kathy Hochul is a bully. The modern Democratic Party in the state of New York in particular is a bully. Mm. If the correction officers were writ large voting for Democrats in a 2025 New York, and if the correction officers were the driving economic force in counties that were voting for a 2025 New York Democratic Party, they would have made the changes to HALT before the first correction officer walked out the door, right? But the Julius Salazars of the world do not represent a constituency that depends on those jobs to make a living. They do not represent a constituency where the people that do those jobs live next door to them. Most of the prisons in our state are far, far away from the majority of the people that cast their votes in Albany for the insanity that is ruining our state. And so that to me is why Kathy Hochul has picked this fight. On the same day, she is cutting new ads to hire fired federal employees. Come to New York, we'll hire you. We respect public service. I'm in Albany. with over 1,000 correction officers and their families, talking to a pregnant woman who is about to pop, who had a prenatal visit that day that she had to cancel because the governor had pulled her health care retroactive to 2 weeks prior, which is illegal, by the way.
Wow.
Right? So if you think about it, this
Good
state
Lord.
that says that there is no such thing as illegal, no man is illegal, this state that blew a hole in the budget of the city of New York to the tune of over $5 billion, housing people here in an illegal status, making sure that those individuals could have a debit card with money to spend on it as they saw fit, literally yanked the health care away from people that show up to do one of the most difficult jobs in this state every single day. And what was the high crime and misdemeanor that they committed? They had the unmitigated gall to ask for safe work conditions. I'm sorry, when 30 people at a job site are finding themselves having to get Narcan, something has gone wrong in the work environment that exceeds what could normally be expected in any job. If that were any other facility, if it were a male facility, if it were just any kind of public sector worker, the place would have been shut down. The policies would have been examined immediately. The prison is all of these things because the prison has to process the mail. The prison also has to deliver health care to the people who are incarcerated. The prison also has to screen people. So we've got TSA screeners in the front. We've got healthcare providers in the back. And off to the side, you've got people who are cafeteria workers. It is all of these things at once. And they are under siege at every point along the ladder here by virtue of the fact that the state has simply said, we don't give a damn. We are more concerned about the politics of the policy than the people the policy was actually intended to help. Because I just want to keep reminding people, it's the inmate on inmate assaults that are stratospheric right now as a result of these implementations of the policies colloquially referred to as HALT.
This is yet another betrayal. And I consider this a betrayal because, again, like I said before, we come into work, we don't expect for nonsense like this. And it's like these people have, like, is there a sense, matter of fact, I ask you this question, is there a sense among the staff up there that the governor, that state government is just like taking tools out of their hands to do their job, like the state is exacerbating the situation, and if so, to what end?
Look, again, I think they do it because they think they can get away with it. I mean, again, going back to the example I made earlier, up in Franklin County, upstate, this facility that we had, between 25 and 30 people exposed to a foreign substance getting Narcan. The nurse.
Wait. Hold on. Stick a pen. We're talking about a narcotic substance. That's the only reason why they would need Narcan. Am I right?
Correct. Last I checked, most people who show up at the doctor with depression or anxiety are not told, take 2 Narcan and call me in the morning, right? Narcan is specifically used for individuals that have been exposed to a lethal substance. So that's what's happening.
Yeah,
the fentanyl or whatever. I mean, look, here's the reality, right? Not to get off subject, and I'll come back to this, right? But I mean, you have part of the reason what they're asking for is screening of legal mail. Why are they asking for screening of legal mail? It's not because they're trying to make sure that they can, spy on the legal proceedings of the incarcerated. It's because of the fact that legal mail is the one thing that by law you can't take away from somebody. People are entitled to legal representation even when they're behind bars. But guess what? People have started to figure out, well, if I just take this paper, lace it with an illicit substance, and then just print legal letterhead on top of the paper, they can't take it away from me. So all of a sudden, you've got somebody in their cell. 1 minute they're reading their legal papers, and the next minute they're high as a kite. And now you have to have a correction officer that's going in there to deal with somebody who no longer has any legal papers to be found because they're floating around in their small intestine and the drugs are coursing through their veins. So these are the types of things that are happening here, which is part of the reason of how you end up with correction officers and civilian staff finding themselves exposed to the substance accidentally. But it is not an accident on the part of the state if the state refuses to put policies and procedures in place to prevent this from happening. I mean, half the people in this, in the country that engage in some type of business, they've got a remote mailbox in Delaware or Wyoming or wherever. They scan the mail and they send you an email for it. Well, most of the people in many of these facilities, they have iPads, they have tablets. I mean, I don't know if people realize this. In specialized housing, AKA solitary confinement, there's Wi-Fi now. I mean, this is the state in which we're living. So, I mean, they've dredged up this draconian term, which makes you think of this draconian practice that no longer exists and hasn't existed in New York State for a long time. But that is literally ripped out of the playbook of the Democratic Party. That every year the Democrats tell us that reproductive rights in New York State are under attack. I ran for U.S. Senate in 2022. Reproductive rights are under attack. The 2024 cycle, we have to pass the Equal Rights Amendment because reproductive rights are under attack. Reproductive rights in New York have been cemented since before Roe v. Wade. But they keep trying to find a boogeyman to scare people with things that aren't even real, aren't even happening. Yep. And we're seeing it here with the correction officers. We see it everywhere. And so I honestly just think that Kathy Hochul thought she was going to get away with it. She's coming kind of close to getting away with it, if for no other reason. The media refuses to cover it. But the stories that come out of this are going to sink her. The stories that come out of this are going to destroy the New York State Democratic Party. And I think the legal litigation, when they find out that they violated HIPAA laws, by having people who were out on FMLA leave and workman's comp prior to the strike ever happening, called down to the facility to have supervisors give them a physical observation to figure out whether they could work or not.
No.
Right? This is what happened.
Oh my God.
The laws that the state of New York has broken, I believe you're looking at a 9-figure lawsuit, if not more, when all this is said and done. And they thought they could get away with it because it was just a bunch of people from counties we don't like doing jobs we don't care about, and they'll never be able to figure out what we've done to them. But the Taylor Law does not exempt the state of New York from providing a fake work environment, and it doesn't give the governor or the commissioner or any of the people from Homeland Security the right to try to bust their union using all manner of illegal tactics. So this governor's day of reckoning is coming. New York's day of reckoning is coming. And when this is all over, every single middle-class worker in this state is going to know what the New York State Democratic Party did to hardworking, honest people in the winter of 2025.
I gotta say, man, it's so crazy. I'm so happy that we're exposing this on here on Apostate Radio, and it's hilarious to find that all of us are on. We're on the traditional left on this issue, right? They're traditionally protecting unions, protecting the middle class, protecting, having these laws that protect the worker. Like, we're all finding ourselves on what used to be the left in this issue, I feel like. And clearly the left is so lost, and I don't know who they're working for anymore besides the politicians themselves. And
I mean, to pick up on that point, right? And I think it's an important point to pick up on. And I think, we've had this conversation a little bit before, my friend. It's the Democratic Party was always on their own side, right? There was a boy who beat cancer, who was at the joint session by President Trump, and the Democratic Party refused to stand up for him. Why didn't they stand up for this little black boy that beat cancer? right? I mean, when they can't get through a single sentence without talking about all the evil things that this country has done to black people. It's because there has always been this hidden strain of bigotry that existed within the Democratic Party. It wasn't, yes, sometimes they don't even really hide it that well. Deal with these Negroes however you see fit. The wayward Negro that doesn't bend the knee to their party orthodoxy, right? We live in a state that paints Black Lives Matter on the streets of New York, but has literally 70% of the black students in public schools in New York City unable to do math at proficient levels. 65% of the students that are black in New York City cannot read at proficient levels, but they got Black Lives Matter written on the streets, right? This is the reality that we're dealing with right now. In the city of Rochester, and not to get off topic here, but it's worth mentioning, you have 20,000 families, and 16,000 of those families this past school year applied for charter school admission in a city where there are only about 2,000 charter school spots per year. The Democratic Party consistently says one thing about the people that they care about and does the direct opposite. And so I don't think this is new, right? The Democratic Party was on the side of the union when they could depend on the union vote. And as more and more unions say that they're not going to support their insanity, they have become hostile to unions because they got to find some new people to give them money. They got to find some new union.
We saw that with the Teamsters. We saw that with the Teamsters. If you remember, Sean O'Brien, when he was on Tucker Carlson, and he recounted that story from one of the members of his executive board, and Kamala Harris was basically shaking her finger in this lady's face, talking about, you better get on board. You better get on board. Like, I've never seen anything like this. I've been a member of a union, not going to disclose which one, but I've been in a labor union now for 10 years. Okay, it makes no sense to me how these institutions, the state was willing basically to break their own laws and throw people under the bus for not falling in line. And my question is, how did these people, with these correctional officers, how did they fall out of favor with the party? By simply asking questions about the conditions that they were asked that they were asked to work in?
Well, look. Let's just look at again. I do think that if you pull up a map of the state of New York in the 2018 election, and you pull up a map of New York in the 2022 election and 2024 election, and you will see exactly when they fell out of favor. Right? You can look at Clinton County, a county that people would think traditionally Republican, but often goes blue, particularly in presidential years. A place like Franklin County, places like St. Lawrence County and Warren County. These are the places that constitute a part of New York that people colloquially refer to as North Country, places that most New Yorkers have never stepped foot unless they were going on a vacation to go skiing or what have you. But people live
now, we're talking about, sorry to cut you off, Joe, but we're talking about like up near
the Canadian border. We're talking about, all the way over to Oneida. This is where the prisons are, right? The prisons aren't in Westchester County, by and large. That's not where we place our prisons, right? We don't place our prisons in Oyster Bay. We don't place our prisons in Midtown Manhattan. We don't place them in Dumbo. The prisons are in Franklin County. The prisons are in Washington County. The prisons are in Oneida County. The prisons are not in places where the people that keep the money in the coffers of the Democratic Party live. And that was fine before because the prisons were in places that could consistently be counted on for Democratic support, right? And that is also part of the reason why you have seen NYSCOBA and the corrections unions in the past giving bipartisan support to politicians on both sides of the aisle. But writ large, the power structure in the state of New York and nationally that has seen a Democratic Party overtaken by people that invented the most dangerous phrase in modern politics, defund the police, overtaken by people like Julia Salazar, who believe in actually deconstructing institutions like prison from the inside, as if that is not going to be a disaster for the people who want to live their life peacefully on the outside. These individuals have complete disdain for those counties. They have complete disdain for the people that live in those counties. They have complete disdain for the honest day of work that the people who live in those counties do, for the loggers, for the correction guards, for the individuals who do the unseen work that keeps society going. And so that brings us to 2025 with 30 people on Bear Hill in Malone, New York, a place that most New Yorkers can't find on a map, finding themselves gasping for breath, passing out, being rushed to an emergency room, losing a child, and 14,000 brothers and sisters saying, we can't do this anymore. Something has to be done, and walking off the job. And here comes Kathy Hochul. She calls the strike illegal. She calls up 6,500 guardsmen, put them in the prison, right? Most people, they have to do 6 months of training before they can even get the job of a correction officer. You've got people who are too young to even apply for the job, doing the job on about 3 hours to 6 hours worth of training. This is what's happening here in New York. And
my God.
Yeah, this is New York. So
not good.
Again,
total betrayal.
It is a lot. Betrayal. It is a lot to digest. It is difficult. If we didn't know any better and we had this conversation, you would think it wasn't real. How can it be real? What blue state rips away health insurance from? Because forget the employees. You ripped it away from the families. You have to also remember that most people that work for the state are on gap pay. The correction officers are on gap pay, so their health insurance is paid through April. So how are you taking away health insurance that is paid through April retroactively to 2 weeks before the strike action occurred? How are you going and telling people that they're not going to be eligible to purchase Cobra in the free market if you fired them, right? And you're going to say it's for gross misconduct, for gross negligence. You're going to cite that portion of the Taylor Law, but you're going to ignore the portion of the Taylor Law that says you have an obligation to address safety in the workplace issues. Come on. This is just people abusing power for fun,
for its own sake,
for sport, because they can, because she wants to look tough in the face of Donald J. Trump. And so how does Kathy Hochul puff herself up? How do all these Democrats puff themselves up? Well, I'll drop the hammer on law enforcement. That'll make me look tough. If I drop the hammer on the boldest, that's what we call corrections officers across the state, right? New York's boldest. If I drop the hammer on the boldest, then clearly everybody will see what a big person I am. You're real tough. You got 6-year-olds showing up for dialysis and they can't get treatment. You've got grown men crying because they got to figure out if they're going to betray their brothers who walked out off the job for safety, but he's got a wife that's got to go to dialysis on Tuesday and they don't have the $8,000 out of pocket to cover it. You're a real tough person. You're a big hero. Again, they didn't ask for money. They're asking for a pay cut. Honest truth. There's $240 million for overtime, and they're simply saying, find somebody else to do the job so you can give them the money. That's literally a pay cut. For anyone at home paying attention, they're asking for less money. They simply said, we can't work like this. It's not safe.
I've never seen anything like this in my life. But like I said, I'm starting to see this in other departments within the state, and something tells me that transit is probably going to be one of the next departments
Well, see, I
to
mean,
be
here's
waged, to have war waged
yeah,
on, you know.
yeah. I
But
mean, I don't know. I mean, it's difficult, right? You think about it, right? You can't call in the National Guard to run the trains, right?
you can't, no.
You can't call in the National Guard to drive the buses, right? And so, honestly, you know, the other part of the answer to your question, why is Kathy Hochul choosing to die on this hill? Correction officers do a job far away from most people's everyday life that has been forgotten about by most people who live their life. Most people don't go to jail. Most people can't even find a jail on the map unless they happen to live in the area where those jails are found. So they are doing literally unseen work on the other side of a wall, on the other side of another wall, on the other side of bars. It is the most, in many ways, it is a segmented workforce in segmented communities that she can get away with bullying because the broader society doesn't know enough to understand just how atrocious what she's doing actually is.
Well, we are doing our part here to bring this story to light. And quite frankly, I've never, like I said, this is one of the most egregious things that this is one of the most egregious stories I have ever come across before we even started this podcast here. But Joe, I want to personally thank you for coming by. I thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come onto this show. Where can people contact you or interact with you for more information, sir?
Well, look, people can go find me on X, Joseph Pinion, one word. They can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I am Joe Pinion. We have built a website out for families impacted by this correction strike called holdthelineny.org. That's holdthelineny.org. I mean, there's so many facets of this that we haven't even had an opportunity to touch. The fact that now Tish James has been the self-designated henchman for the governor. They've got about 390 individuals that were served with an order to show cause that have to show up on Tuesday, facing potential jail time and all types of fines. I mean, this whole thing is crazy. You have the union itself that the state hit with a temporary restraining order, which basically prevented the union from directly communicating with the membership, all while the state claimed that they were trying to actually communicate with the union for the purposes of trying to get the changes in place that the members wanted. I mean, you can't tell the union they can't talk to the membership. You're going to slap them with fines close to $750,000 a day, and then say that you're confused as to why the strike is happening, as Kathy Hochul did. Stood before the entire state media market, says, I have no idea why they're on strike. All while Letitia James is filing a petition in Erie County that quite literally lists their demands as an exhibit in the petition as to what they're actually seeking to come back to the work. This stuff is actually insane. And the irony of all ironies, I'm going to say it right here. They were all excited and jazzed up when Fannie Willis decided that there was a conspiracy, that you didn't have to be in the same room and even have a conversation with the other people involved in the conspiracy to be a party to the conspiracy. I want the emails. I want the phone records. I want to know how many times Kathy Hochul called Letitia James. I want to know how many times the commissioner called the attorney general. I want to know how they came up with the list of 10 people at every jail that they were going to be made an example of to be put into a petition out of Erie County. We want the emails, and we're going to find out the laws they have broken, the lengths they have gone to break the backs of families who just wanted to go to work in a safe work environment because they could get away with it. There has been nothing so heinous done in the state of New York in the modern history of this state. And when the true story of what has happened here has been told, somebody's going to emergency and somebody is going to jail. But I promise you, it's not going to be this rosy picture that they think is going to be told on the nightly news.
Once again, Joseph Pinion, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who want more information about this and to support the workers on the front lines, you can go to www.holdthelineny.org. Holdtheline.org. Joe, thank you, brother. I really appreciate you coming by.
Appreciate you guys.
Feel free. Matter of fact, if you want to come, you are free, you are welcome.
Yeah,
to
we got to
come
get Joe back
here anytime. And we'll give you as long as you need.
Yeah,
to go over
we'll do a longer episode.
I'm
next
dead.
time,
No, I'm dead serious because honestly,
important.
I want to know. The next time you come on, I want to know how this ties into Rikers and some of the area and some of like the local stuff here in New York City. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that soon. Joe, thank you again for coming
appreciate
on,
you,
brother. We really appreciate you, man.
Appreciate
Fighting
you,
a good
brother.
fight.
God bless
All
you,
right,
friend.
have a great night. Thank you.
Bless you,
man. Oh,
this is a heavy duty episode, man.
Oh my God. You know, tonight's show is the general theme of this is betrayal. Okay. People don't seem to understand why it is that those of us who were once Democrats, those of us who under normal circumstances up until about 2019 were regular voters for Democrats, we sided with Dems on most issues. And then all of a sudden in 2020 up until this time, the party decided we were done answering to we were done answering to our voters. We were done answering to our constituents. We are only going to talk to one member of our constituency, and that is the furthest left we could possibly go. That is what we have been dealing with. Democrats have become communists. The entire leftist program is that of Maoists. These are American Maoists that we've been dealing with. The fact that they would do this to union workers, people who put on the uniform of the state of New York and represent this state, to get betrayed like they have by this political machine in this state is absolutely vile. But the betrayal does not just stop. It's not just within the government. It's also within private institutions. Namely within churches. As we've talked about before, this is a communist revolution. The left has become a cult. Communism is a cult. And they are trying to force things that in different areas to take total control. Our next guest was a math teacher who went public against wokeness, or what I'm going to call the American cultural revolution in education in 2021.
And specifically anti-racism too, which is infecting the school.
Yes.
The philosophy of anti-racism.
He is
very
a
racist.
journalist.
The very racist philosophy of anti-racism, by the way.
Oh yeah. We gonna get into all
quite a misleading title, but yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He is a journalist who exposed drag queen performances in churches in 2022. And he is now the director of the Terra Firma Teaching Alliance. I love that name. A national network for traditional teachers. He is our friend, the incomparable Paul Rossi. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm
Paul
good.
Rossi.
Thank you.
How you
Thank you
doing,
for
man?
that very flattering introduction.
It's been a while,
I
brother.
am. Yeah, it's good to see you guys. How's my sound? I'm wearing these ridiculous cans right now because
Sound
you
good?
know, okay, good.
You sound fine. What mic are you using by chance?
I have this Rode mic that I've been using on some podcasts. It's done me pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as I keep
Well,
it
welcome
stable.
in, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome in, sir. I have the Rode pod mic USB. It's a
very
fantastic
good.
mic. I love it. I love it. Oh, B&H.
Oh yeah,
I got it.
B&H.
Yeah, I got it from over
Get anything.
the west side. Oh God, B&H, like no bullshit. B&H is like one of it's like if Best Buy and the Plaza Hotel had a baby.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
I'm
great.
dead fucking serious. That place is gorgeous.
As
Wow.
long as you don't need it.
I never
As
been.
long as you don't need anything on a Saturday, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or a Friday
Or
Friday
right,
afternoon.
Friday
Yeah.
afternoon
So,
until like I was getting my Sabbath confused. Yeah,
So Paul, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
And what has life been for you these days, man?
It's been very interesting. I did find a teaching job for a year at a really wonderful charter school in the Bronx. I didn't think I'd ever find another job in New York. It was quite something. It's called Vertex Partnership Academies, and it serves the local community in on the St. Lawrence stop of the 6 train. And they're all great kids.
I used to live over that way.
Yeah, and they, it's virtues based. So we teach, the cardinal virtues, courage, temperance, wisdom, and justice, not social justice, but justice. And we have not a speck of DEI in the place, not a speck of
praise God.
any of that.
I'd like to hear that. Hallelujah.
At least at the institutional level. Some of the teachers, I got a couple questions about, but overall, massive improvement. And based, it really teaches the kids that you can succeed in America. You can thrive in America if you study hard and you work hard and you maximize your potential in life. So it's a message that really resonates with a lot of the parents in the neighborhood. They want school choice. They want to have a place to send their kids that's better than the failing schools that Joseph was talking about, which is a national scandal. I taught there 1 year. It was a great year, very successful. But I had been dreaming to find a place in New Hampshire and fix up a place up there. So I'm up in New Hampshire now. I go back and forth between here and New York. And I'm working a lot on this teacher network that we're growing and developing. And so we help out a lot of teachers that went through that are going through right now the situation that I went through in 2020, 2021, which is about the time when I did the same thing that it sounds like you guys did. I was a diehard liberal. And gradually over, 2017, 2018, I really began to question some of the things I was seeing in the classroom, some of the things that the institution was pushing on the kids, watching its influence on them. And then when it got really crazy in 2020, I kind of was looking for a chance within the school community to speak up. And I did so at a meeting. It was a racially segregated meeting. They took all the white kids, or as they call them, white identified, by
like whatever the fuck that means.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry.
No, it's true. They actually, we had a big debate about the difference between white identified and white identifying, which was this was like how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, like scholasticism in the woke community. But anyway, I will say this was not the school where I taught last year. This was the complete opposite. This was an elite downtown Manhattan, majority white parents and kids, but we had a substantial number of students that were students of color, as they're known. And it was an Episcopal school. So when you mention churches being taken over by the ideology, that's very, very important, because the churches are particularly vulnerable in the way that they've changed over the past 50 years. We can get into why that is. But at this racially segregated meeting, we were all being lectured at by a young woman, very intelligent, but it looked like she was like in her late 20s. And the kids were being told that they were all, victims of white supremacy culture. They couldn't help but manifest white supremacy in their daily interactions with each other, and they were causing trauma to the black students, whether they knew it or not, their fellow peers. And among the things, there's this very famous slide in education, which goes through the list of 15 things that are actually white supremacist, including things like worship of the written word. So if you really love reading and writing, you're a white supremacist. What does that make people? What are we supposed to do? In school?
Hold on a second.
We can get into all this, but yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm sorry. Please continue. Because I'm going to find because I'm going to look for that. I actually have that. The image of that.
I was going to look at that. Smithsonian. There's one, and also there's
exactly where it was.
American history.
And they put one also. Was it Carranza or something? Somebody had some kind of teaching training, and it had all the New York Post. I think put something of it. That's another one that has a lot of what is it? Showing up on time is like
punctuality.
Punctuality is a white person thing. I guess nobody in any other country ever worried about the time before, unless there's a white.
Being late to work is a fucking revolutionary act.
Yeah,
but the thing that got me, I hate all this stuff was silly to me, and I was just kind of biting my tongue. But when she said objectivity is white supremacy, I can understand if certain things there aren't objective, certain things are subjective. It's like social context, and different people see things in different ways. I'm fine with that. But when I followed the link on her slides, it took me to this thing which said objectivity, full stop, is white supremacy in any context. And the kids are going on their phones and they're looking at this. And I said, okay, wait a minute. Okay. I unmuted. I did the thing where you just, in the Zoom meeting where there's hundreds of people and you press that button. And I just kind of interrupted, and I got into a Socratic dialogue with her about, objectivity, like what did she mean by that, and what, because I taught math, and I'm not going to have my students sit there thinking that their math teacher thinks that 2 + 2 = 4 is white supremacy. I'm just not doing that. Right. And then she kind of tried to take my questions and make it look like I had been fragile, that this was my manifestation of inner pain for questioning her wisdom.
Inner pain. Wow.
So she said, Mr. Rossi, as many of you are seeing Mr. Rossi struggle through this, you may have a lot of white feelings about these things. I said, and then I was just like, okay, what is a white feeling? Let's talk about what a white feeling is.
I listened to this.
Yeah.
I listened to your episode with Dave Rubin on my way home, because I was in the Bronx this weekend, and I came back earlier, and I listened to the excerpt of your show. It was the most disgusting form of gaslighting I had ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
I am. Oh, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that's, you're right. And the thing is, I'm an adult. Okay, I work there by choice. It's a private school. I'm not in a union. I have a year-to-year contract. I made the decision every year to sign that contract and go teach at that school. Okay. It was in many ways, it was a good job. Right. But when they didn't just do it to the teachers, they did it to the kids. And I saw kids really struggling emotionally. And, am I a good person if I confuse my one black friend with another black friend? So, this happened to me. A girl ran into my classroom in tears, crying, because she had seen one of her black peers from the back of his head, and called him by the name of another. And he turned around and she saw that it was this other person.
Jesus Christ.
And she was like, I'm a terrible, you don't understand. I'm a terrible person. I'm a racist. I'm, you know,
Jeez.
and,
Oh, my God.
you know, I was like, have you ever confused? Okay. Like you can't argue with somebody, but you can say, have you ever confused a white friend with another white friend? She said, yes. And I was like, well, it would actually be odd if you never confused one of your black peers with another black peer. If you do it with white, why would you? She said, yes, but I'm an oppressor. I can't do that because there's like, I'm reinforcing structural racism by doing that. And I'm doing violence.
They said that.
Yeah.
So
that, this is yes.
That's
so like,
that's ridiculous.
And when I questioned it, she already had the programming to reject my line of questioning.
Your white thoughts and your white feelings.
My white thoughts, because the way this thing is constructed, it's actually like, it's like that meme where, you know, the guy says like, I'm actually kind of, I'm not even mad. I'm like, it's ingeniously diabolical is what it is, that they have built in all of these different tripwires to protect the ideology from any external questioning.
And they rely on people to be scared to question it. Like they rely, like that, like, hey, you're going to be, you want to be called a racist? Do you want to be ostracized from us? So you are, and if you're not at all confident or philosophically able to respond in a skillful way or whatever, you can be, you know, they could trip you up and scare you and be like, oh, I didn't know you were a racist. I didn't know you were. Oh, so you're showing some white fragility right now, aren't you? And it's like, you're like, no, not. You're right. You're totally right. And that's absolutely right. It's very manipulative, very narcissistic. And like you said, it is diabolical in many ways.
There's something masochistic about this. Like, I'm sorry, Paul. There's something very like, have you ever noticed how, like, you notice how a lot of these same, I've noticed this, a lot of these DEI and anti-racist, like the CRT people, they have, a lot of them have a thing for BDSM. I am not bullshitting you. A lot of these woke assholes have a thing about it because they enjoy, because remember, these people enjoy inflicting pain onto others. Sure. Okay. And since obviously this is how they can destroy and torture the minds of children and adults with this nonsense. And it's literally like, because this is vile shit. So I'm going to add this.
We should talk about the white. There's some of this,
there it is,
to show people. This is from the Smithsonian, right, Institute. So this is not just like some TikTok person.
By the way, this was created by a white woman. I'm just going to put that in there. White woman created this.
By a white woman, and so this is like a legit institution that people go to for knowledge, and so this isn't just like some kind of fringe leftist on Tumblr or something like that. No, this is why this is why this is really serious. If it was just a fringe person on Tumblr or TikTok or some like first year gender studies student that just put out a meme, then okay, like I don't give a crap. But this is actually institutionalized widely.
So I'm reading from this. White dominant culture, or whiteness, refers to the way white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practices in the US. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we have all internalized some aspect of white culture, including people of color. Never mind the fact that a fucking white woman wrote this shit. Rugged individualism.
Oh my God.
The individual, the individual is the primary unit. Self-reliance.
Oh my goodness.
Independence and autonomy, highly valued and rewarded. Individuals assumed to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve. Imagine that.
Only white people think that too, by the way.
Imagine that.
Only white people have attitudes like
this. Only white people.
Nobody in Asia, nobody in Africa. Nobody.
The
Just white people.
ridiculousness of it.
Only white people.
The
come up with stuff like this.
ridiculousness that just because we're a bunch of the blacks and the Hispanics. No, they don't care. They're already collectivists. They're already a fucking, socio-political blob. So we just got to get this. We just got to get this shit out of the white people, and then we can all
that's a good
be
point.
brought into the all. Like
Self-reliance, autonomy. That's not valued in any other region on Earth besides majority white regions.
The sickest thing about it is that for the black students, it robs them of actual
autonomy.
Well, it
agency,
robs them of heroes,
confidence,
like their black excellence, right? What does it say about black entrepreneurs, black scientists, black doctors, like successful, who actually worked in far more difficult circumstances and made contributions based on exactly these things. They applied these virtues that are now being reframed as vices.
Yeah, it says that they're operating with internalized white supremacy, Paul.
Exactly. So like, not only do they they sort of deconstruct what makes a culture, basically makes culture more successful, but it actually robs the identity group that they claim to support of examples of success. So it's toxic and to everyone.
It's like it literally saying like, hey, these people are doing well because they were acting like white people, I guess.
Right.
That's exactly what it is.
And it's crazy. Yeah. It's like, no, just people, they're being responsible adults, virtuous people, which is, you could find that in every goddamn country on Earth. There's people doing that of every race, every color since the beginning of fucking time. Like, obviously.
But see, this is
what are you talking about?
I love the second one. Family structure is white supremacy culture. Right. The nuclear family, father, mother, 2.3 children is the ideal social unit.
Man,
husband is breadwinner and head of household. Wife is homemaker and subordinate to the husband. Children should have their own rooms and be independent. Like, what?
Absurd. The nuclear family is found throughout many species of the animal kingdom.
So what they will do with the kids in second grade. Okay, so I know that I taught high school, but what was happening in all these elite private schools where parents pay $60,000 a year, there's financial aid available, of course, if you want to be a part of this. But they were starting to teach it in kindergarten. And I actually dug into the curriculum. I was like, where did this begin? Where did this come from? I got very curious. I looked into what was being pushed through the conferences, the education conferences that these private schools would send their teachers to. There's one called the People of Color Conference, where, white teachers, teachers of color, black teachers, Latino teachers all get together and scheme up ways to push this stuff on kids in more effective ways. And one of the instruments they used was, they use identity in kindergarten. So they start in pre-K or kindergarten. And the point is like, okay, who are you? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? Okay.
Data mining.
Right. So yes. So they're getting the kids to think about their personal identity first, right? What kind of foods do you like? All right. And then they slowly move to what their social identity is. And they start talking about in what ways are you different from other people? Do the foods you like reflect, what you eat at home, and is that different than what you see other kids eat? Well, that's because you're from this group, and that group is, maybe you're from a Latino, and maybe you're a black person, and maybe you're a white person, and then they racialize the identities, but they still it's like that when Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark, he tries to switch the pouch. He takes the golden idol and he switches it with a stone pouch to keep the weight on the scale. Like they slowly move them, right? So you start with personal, then you talk about social, and then they gradually drop the personal, and all that's left is the social, and that's identity. So they move beyond personal and they lose the individualism, and now they're group identities. And then they move on to in history and the present, some groups are treated differently than others in society, and this is how you're treated, and this is how you're treated, and these are the things that you have advantages in. These are things you have disadvantages in. So before they even get to experiences, they've already preloaded or primed the kids to anticipate oppression or see themselves as, well, I'm Latino, so that means that I'm oppressed in my social identity. And so it is taken as a fact, right? And then once you put the theory in, then they start seeing all kinds of examples, right? Because what you want to see is what you're going to see. Yeah. And then they start narrating. So I personally had to lead a circle of kids to go around, and after they had progressed beyond this level and we're now in 9th grade, they had to talk about, well, why are you Asian, and what kinds of ways are you different being Asian? And the kids are catch on quick. They're very smart, and they realize that what all the teachers want to hear are the sob stories about how they were mistreated because they were Asian. Or if you're a white person, the things that you did that were bad, that now you feel bad about that. So
talk about your internalized racism.
They're passing the talking stick around, and they're saying these things. And I needed to disrupt it somehow. I was like, well, these are things that, do we have to define ourselves by our race or how other people see us? Like, if someone thought that I was a great person, all these people said I was a great person, would that make me a great person? And they were like, well, no, maybe you're not. And I was like, well, what if people thought I was a bad person? Would that make me a bad? No. So why do we trust people? Why do we trust what other people say about us? Aren't we the best judge of ourselves and our worth? And like just trying to, because I'm a great believer in questions, Socratic method. If you just lecture kids, they're not going to think about it afterwards. So like I tried to sort of break this stranglehold. And, I think, nothing succeeded like this meeting that I was talking about, because what happened when I started to question, the kids in the chat started to question, and other teachers were like, yeah, I don't know if I'm a white supremacist. I don't know whether I take this seriously. And then even the woman, so that our white meeting went on for like 3 hours, and there was all kinds of processing and people. And then one of the French teachers cried, and then the facilitator, to her credit, she was like, well, Mr. Rossi really opened up a lot of things for us, and we have a lot to discuss, and I'm really glad he's here. And, he did and I was like, this is great. Like, I feel great about what I did. And even the woman, the dean of students who called the meeting and scheduled the meeting, was saying, like, I'm glad Mr. Rossi's here too. But what was happening while the meeting was going on is that the students of color and the teachers of color, what they had been getting is not any of this stuff. They were getting totally separate content about how, the pandemic was giving them stress, and they were suffering from, a white, basically whiteness, the white gaze, all of this other stuff that they were
dealing with. Gaze. What's the white gaze, Paul? What's that?
It's not white homosexuals. It's white.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But this is actually part of the theory. If I look at a black person, and especially if I smile, that's a microaggression, because I'm making a demand that the black person smile back at me.
God damn, you're demanding, Paul.
And just the power of my gaze is enough to make them feel like they're on a plantation somewhere.
Smile at me, boy.
Exactly, right?
Wait a second, Paul. Is that really what they believe? Is that really what
Yes, absolutely. Because
the gaze makes
generational trauma. Yeah, there's generational trauma that I have. Wow. This is the flip side of your S&M point, Isaiah. You're right about the S&M thing, by the way. I have personal friends that I can share that are into that. I'm not me, but anyway, and they're very woke. But I will say this, it's also a crazy form of dominance. Like, if I am so powerful,
me, boy.
If I am so powerful that my gaze can intimidate black people, like, oh, of course I feel terrible about it.
Like Professor X, man.
Terrible person. However, it means that I have all of this untapped power that I need to atone for. And, I've done such incredible violence to people. And, that's a weird kind of power.
I can just picture you, Paul, on the train, just white gazing every person of color. Just like this.
Yeah. No, actually,
just
I'm
making
just
them
powering.
I'm
trying to be as small as possible on this six train.
This is so fucking stupid. It's like, you gonna smile for me, boy? You gonna smile?
Exactly.
Good.
You gonna smile? Give me a smile, boy. Show me your teeth.
And it's funny, but it's like
LBT.
it's messed up. It's really messed up and scary because they're teaching children this from a young age.
Yeah,
Imagine what that does to race relations.
that
in
is
the country.
evil.
Yeah, it's
That
evil.
that is untold evil. Like, it's evil for adults to do that shit to other adults. But when you're doing this to children, 4 and 5 years, I have a 5-year-old niece and a 4-year-old nephew. If you to try to push that shit onto these little babies before they physically their brains cannot process it. And then when they figure out, because again, the only thing that kids know at those ages are to keep the adults happy. They have to appease the grown-ups, do what the grown-ups say.
Yeah, and also fitting in with their peers at a certain
It's
age, and
basic
that becomes super
childhood development.
Yeah, and like think
And
about
they're
it. So it
robbing
makes
children of this.
It makes the white kids feel like they're freaking predators or something that are just constantly oppressing and causing harm, and it probably feels some of the black kids making it feel like, you know, Jesus Christ, white people are just predators that are going to cause me harm. It's like,
well, it's also in a way it's worse for the black kids, and I'm gonna try to explain why. Because the way it played out in these,
are you going to white splain? Are you
I'm
going to white splain?
I'm going to white splain.
Are you going to white splain?
Oh,
I'm
man.
definitely going to white splain. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you an anecdote,
Trigger
but I'm
warning,
also
there's
going
some
to
white
try to.
splaining coming out.
Yeah. So take it with a grain of white salt. I'm just gonna,
we only do pink salt in this house.
Pink salt, Himalayan. Okay, but that's
Himalayan
cultural
pink salt.
appropriation because I'm stealing Himalayan salt.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got yellow.
We can go all
fever.
day with this, huh?
I know, right? Anything.
Oh my God.
So what happens is, like, there's you ever hear about like oracles? You know what oracles are in classical Greek?
Yes.
They're like
yes.
They're like
Visions,
you would go to the
visions,
oracle and the oracle would
actually
tell
I'm
you
an
the
oracle,
future.
by the way. That's why I got my name.
You guys
not
are.
Yeah.
So the teachers, the well-meaning liberal women, mostly women teachers, would treat the black students, particularly the girls, as these kind of transcendental angels that were going. Whatever they express is some sort of deep-rooted. It's the voice of history, really, because they are as the most oppressed class sexually and in their gender and in their race. What they have to say is actually going to lead us to the great Marxist future, right? Which is,
so I guess that explains Jasmine Crockett, huh? Is it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that puts tremendous pressure on these girls to, like, because they have no boundaries.
Wait, Paul, stick a pin. Hold that thought. Because if you want to see, because I'm going to show you, here's what these oracles look like. Here's what, you ready for this? Here's what some of these oracles look like.
We're in the middle of a hostile government takeover. I want to talk about it, but I'll be late for work. And if you say, wait a minute, do we have to stop this? We had one, but she didn't want that lady in office. Hostile government.
You know,
yes, that's called black joy.
Yeah.
Which is also taught to the kids. That's something.
Is that really, Paul?
Yeah,
really
it's actually a thing. Yeah,
I can't believe this shit.
It
man.
is.
It's in Black Lives Matters.
I imagine there's no white joy. Part.
No, white joy is very bad.
Yeah, they don't have those kind of.
You are not allowed to be excited about that fucking vanilla latte, Paul.
Are there any?
And you are not allowed to. If Gap has khakis on sale, you are not allowed to be happy about it, motherfucker.
No way, man. No way.
Hey, man, you can't stop us from getting happy.
Can't do it. You are not. When you listen to Huey Lewis, you are not allowed to bop your foot.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
You listen to the Beach Boys. That's a microaggression.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're just.
I'm giving out good.
The audacity of caucasity.
Oh, do they have Latinx joy? Any of those?
Yeah, Latinx joy. Latinx joy. They dropped Latinx. Then now it's called Latine, like L-I-T-I-N.
With the E at the end, yeah.
Latrine, like a bathroom.
Latrine,
like a bathroom.
You would think that it would be smart enough.
Fucking woke shit, man.
Yeah.
So unbelievable. And they really think. And what's hilarious, Paul, is that as you talked about the whole oracle comparison with black that these white liberal women view Black women as. Okay, it makes a lot of sense now when we think about one of the biggest phrases that was used in the Democrat Party up until a few years ago, which was Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party.
They're still using that, right? Isaiah, they're still saying that.
They some
I heard it like a couple weeks ago.
Some do.
Yeah.
And it's also the reason why if you look at, matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up. I know I've got this, because that right there is, hold on, I'm just going to move this to, let me just move this to start.
Oh, make sure you don't white gaze at us too much. Just maybe you want to turn off your camera.
I'm sorry. I mean, I don't.
The white gaze. Listen. The white gaze. The white gaze particularly burns like south of 23rd Street.
Yeah,
in Manhattan.
I'm getting as a Latinx man right now. I'm getting visions of Christopher Columbus coming ashore. You know, since you're an Italian man.
That's right.
Really, I'm feeling a lot of pressure right now. I'm just getting these traumatic visions.
I know.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that I can totally turn off my camera.
Yeah.
If this is too much for you, I will.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely
not.
Right. No.
We're just joking.
Because it
we are.
I'm getting off on it actually, personally, but I can't admit it. But I'm just letting you know.
Paul's loving the power right now.
I have to feel guilty about it, but I'm secretly enjoying it.
Well, understand something, right? Like the one thing that drives me crazy about all this is the fact that, like, the progress pride flag, like Black people are treated like these, and I've seen this on many occasions here in New York City. Black people, especially women and gays, black gays are treated like oracles. Is why they are placed in, and this is according to intersectionality. Intersectionality means you can't just be Black and something. You have to, and that's it. You have to be Black plus gay, Black plus trans, Black plus disabled, right? Like they and what's crazy is the whole concept of intersectionality, at least has, as I understood it at one point, was that the stacking of identities was something that was not supposed to happen, but it happens on a regular basis. And of course, the lady who started, the original scholars of critical race theory and all of that, they're just sitting back like,
because I mean, it started out as a legal theory, and that was kind of describing the intersection was a literal, you're getting hit by cars from different directions. And that means that you are actually in a certain type of legal jeopardy, practically, in the way that the law was practiced on you as a victim. But you're right. But there was a turn where you're right in saying the idea is to sort of liberate from those things, right? To sort of treat it legally. But it was turned by Crenshaw into using Black, your identity as power. So that is actually a vehicle that you're supposed to inhabit. You're not supposed to hold up a sign and say, I am a man. You're supposed to hold up a sign and say, I am Black, because with Blackness, you have a certain status as a member of a protected class. And then that legal stuff came along with that.
You ever notice how
political project?
You ever notice how a lot of the artwork in the last 4 years were devoid of faces?
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen some of that.
That's part of it.
Yeah,
right. It's just skin tones. I just want you to focus on skin tones.
You're just a color form. You're literally like it's true, and you see it in a lot of corporate art. Yeah,
Theo Jordan talks about that all the time.
Interesting. Yeah,
about the faceless, because again, the whole focus throughout the Biden years was that they wanted to atomize. I firmly believe this. Well, I shouldn't say I don't just believe this. I know this to be true. They wanted to atomize all they wanted to atomize all existence. Okay, to where the only thing that you are allowed to see are immutable characteristics. If an immutable characteristic appeared to be a person's black skin, you are automatically supposed to treat them a certain way if you are white. Okay. If you are, if they are like, if you happen to take a even deeper look in and you happen to see that they are black and gay, then you treat them with even more reverence and invite them out to brunch.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
but you know,
plus it makes you look good that you're sitting next
right,
to
exactly.
these holy priests, high priests.
Right, and there's something very demonic about that, because this is why, because what I've found is that when you start to focus on immutable characteristics, when you start to see colors, and when the only thing that you're allowed to see are colors, character goes right out the fucking window. You could treat you can like that. That is how that is where the proliferation of some other the utter degeneracy that we see in culture these days. You know, the fact that cursing is like, we do it here, but that's because
I curse
God
too
ain't
much,
working.
yeah.
Well, yeah, we curse a lot, but we are working on that. I'm horrible at it.
I'm trying,
but
I should give it up for Lent.
But the fact of the matter is, like, the overall degeneracy. I just saw something earlier, which I'll probably share, because it ties into what we're discussing. The stuff that we've seen come out of churches, and within, you know, and within like the religious community, it's some of the most evil shit I've ever seen in my life. And Paul, the school that you uncovered all of this in 2021, wasn't that a religious school that you were teaching at?
I mean, it was a WASP school. It was an Episcopal school, and a lot of the WASP-y sort of.
Are you Episcopalian by chance?
No, I'm Catholic. Okay. I'm Italian. I'm white ethnic. You know, Catholic.
Not a boy.
So right. So we're often kind of
that already had to be awkward, no?
Well, actually, it's funny.
Don't Catholics and Episcopalians kind of look at each other like, ew?
Well, of course, this is part of the reason why it's so easy for, we call it wokeness, to take over these religious institutions, because for the past 50 years they've bled themselves out. They bled out anything that would distinguish any distinction between good and evil. So the judgment itself is seen as something which prevents the flock from expanding, because all these congregations are competing for bodies in the seats and donations, and you know, the new steeple, and
with ever increasing atheism too.
Right. So, and ever increasing atheism and skepticism, and so they don't want to be talking about good and evil. They don't want to be talking about judgment and discernment, which is going to turn people off. Sin, that's bad. We don't want
personal accountability, potential
that's
for
just like, no one
punishment.
wants to feel bad, so they want to make people feel good. So they want to be inclusive, and all that whole part of the religion, which is at least as important as the love and the good vibes, gets stripped away, and you have this sort of amputated, you know, mutant religion, which is totally open to be taken over by, you know, warmed over Marxism or race Marxism or whatever, which is going to be like, to be a good everything is compassion, right? So if I want to be a good person, well, I have to be a good person, and the only way to be a good person is by, you know, helping the vulnerable, right, and helping the souls that suffer, right, suffer into me, and you know, it's like
having empathy for everybody,
empathy for everyone. So even then you have this,
even terrible criminals.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have this exploit in computer code. We call it an exploit, where these people with political agendas can just swoop right in there. And the WASPs of 2020 or 2010 or the 2000s have no defense for this, because a lot of their money is very old money, and a lot of our actual country clubs and the golf clubs, they didn't let in blacks and Jews, like, you know, in our lifetimes. So they are, when they hear this stuff from a DEI charlatan telling them, you know, that this is what America is. They're like, yeah, that's my America. You know, all my servants at the Park Avenue apartment are black people. So that actually must be what America is. And so they are way more vulnerable to being taken over psychologically by this than, you know, an average white ethnic Italian guy who grew up with all kinds of people, you know, in the high school, and, you know, knows that black people aren't saints and white people aren't saints.
Yeah,
and,
people are
you know,
people.
people are people. So
Yeah.
they're the fact that they are sheltered by their money. The other thing it does for them, like the principal or the head of the school that I taught at, was like, I think he's like the second richest family on Long Island. Like they have like money that goes back hundreds of years. Is that it actually removes their sense of distance from other white people. So it's like, yeah, I'm rich and I have like, you know, orders of magnitude more wealth than you do. However, we are white. We are all together in this, and we are all racists, right? So you're just as much, I'm just as bad as you are, and you're just as bad as I am because we're white. So it faces
Shared
the
burden.
wealth inequality.
Yeah.
And it makes them, and it gives them the same simultaneously the power to lecture you if you don't agree. So it preserves their status while removing the status and making them seem just like you. So it's an incredible like power move in two senses for them, and it's very attractive. And so it makes them like way more vulnerable. And then of course
it's something they can point to morally.
Yeah,
something you point to morally. It's like, no, I'm not racist. Look at me. We got a DEI school. We send our kids there.
I'm not racist. I'm just careful.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not racist. I'm just.
It's funny if you say you're not racist, you're a racist. So they don't say I'm not racist. They say I'm racist, but I know it better than you do. So my awareness of my own racism is deeper than yours.
You know what's so crazy? You know what's so crazy, Paul?
I've had arguments with people telling them that they're not racist and they won't agree with me. Like I'm like, look, you're not racist just because you don't want to sit next to that black person on the train. It's not because they're black. It's because they look like they're dangerous the way they dress and the way they're like, if they were in a 3-piece suit, would you mind sitting next to them? No. Okay, well, maybe it's not because they're black. It's because
if they're laid out on a fucking train bench.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
With like we're laying in their fucking bedroom. Yeah. Are you, and they smell like they haven't taken a shower in 3 months. Are you going to sit next to them? Listen, if I don't want to sit next to that.
No.
And I've been black all my life.
No, the real question is,
what
are you going to?
And hold on a second. Does this mean that this just comes off like fucking like dirt? Because I don't want to sit next to some dirty ass bum on the subway. What the fuck are we doing? Oh God. Sorry, Paul.
No, yeah. And you know, so I would try to do the Socratic method thing, and I'd be like, well, what if that person was doing everything, they were behaving exactly the same, they were looking at you the same way, they were dressed the same way, but they happen to have white skin. Would you still want to sit next to them? And they, you know, sometimes I'd get to them and be like,
thank you.
No, probably not, but it's like their culture. And I'd be like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, that they're just adopting black culture. And I'd be afraid of black culture, even if a white person was doing it. I was like, is that what you think? Is that black culture to like be threatening? And what is that? Like, and they're like, I know I'm racist. So, you can't win. You can't win.
You know what that is? This is why leftism is a cult, okay? Because the one thing that all religions, Christianity, I'm going to use Christianity as a bit of a mirror image to prove my point here. Christianity, there's a verse in the book of Psalms, and I can't remember. I think it's Psalm. I don't remember the exact chapter and verse, but it says, behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. I think it's Psalm 50 something. I can't. Please check on that notes if you can. But that verse in the Old Testament is treated as one of like the oldest evidences of a sin nature. Okay, like the human disposition is to sin. It's automatically it's automatically by default we are against what God wants. Okay. Now, I was raised in this. I was raised in this doctrine. Okay. The doctrine, it's crazy because where so many churches and so many other religious organizations and institutions ran away from sin. My brothers and I, we were blessed to have Kevin and Robin Carter, who over the years, and yes, it drove me crazy, in my younger years, Kevin and Robin made sure that me and my brothers knew exactly what sin was, that we were very much, that we would seek out churches that were not afraid to shy away from sin. Because here's the thing, when you start talking about sin and the transgression from the word of God, okay, what happens is it draws your focus away from the group identity, and it causes you to focus on your individual selves.
Right? That's accountability.
And that's accountability.
Some people don't want to deal with that.
Exactly. And that's why, that's why collectivist nonsense, okay, where the sins of the father are heaped onto the sins of the father, the sins of whatever of the grandfather, they're heaped onto a specific group, okay, and that's why they say they use terms like historically marginalized, okay. This is why they hate, because the thing is, we talk about that sin nature, right? That the humanity is presupposed to sin, right? We've already established that. But the problem is there's no grace, there's no mercy, there's no repentance.
Forgiveness either.
There's no forgiveness of sin.
Yeah.
That's the part. That is the part that makes me absolutely repel leftism, and it makes me despise communism, because there's no forgiveness. It's even why I don't even like Islam, for that matter, because Islam does not, like, there's no forgiveness of sin. There's no forgiveness of sin. It's like, what happens is you have to show contrition, and you have to show undying loyalty to, in the communist case, the state, or really the Marxist case, the state. You have to show total fealty to even have a chance at making it in life. And the only time you are rewarded for anything is when, like if you say enough glory to the states. Like I don't like.
No, you could be purged tomorrow, and you're supposed to be done. If you're purged tomorrow,
look at what happened with Gavin Newsom.
Yeah,
look at what happened with Gavin Newsom. Okay, this guy, along with several others in that godforsaken state, was single-handedly responsible for some of the most evil perversions to happen to children. Okay, particularly with the gender cult nonsense. You can thank Scott Wiener for that too. Okay, the thing about, but think about it. Gavin Newsom said, "I'm gonna start this new podcast, and I'm gonna talk to people that I don't agree with." And the first person that I talk to is Charlie Kirk.
All right.
And Charlie Kirk waxed that ass.
Yeah, I heard about it. I gotta watch it.
But
I gotta see it. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either. But the fact is, well, I saw clips.
So I saw a few clips.
The fact is, Gavin Newsom is getting eviscerated by leftists for even talking to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you give a platform to, like, this is the way. So I think this is what I've often thought about the relationship between what you're talking about, that there's no forgiveness of sins and leftism. Because God is projected into the utopia to come, right? So in dialectical materialism, the various structural forces fight it out on the battlefield of the present, And then, like we're saying, the oracular future is the marginalized, which finds its voice. So that's why you also hear, listen to Black voices, listen to women's voices, because the voice is the utterance of consciousness, historical consciousness coming into being. And that is a cycle that's going to lead us towards utopia. So the role of the individual is simply to play their part on the stage of history and then expire, and to be basically sloughed off like a snake skin, because history is going to constantly molt itself, and eventually this beautiful beast will be born that will be the utopia where everyone lives perfectly.
A perfect world where there's no racism,
heaven,
no sexism,
and
no inequality.
The white person's job at this time, in this present, is to expunge their racism, which they it's just like their sin. You can't be free of it, but you can simply act on the stage of history in a responsible way by doing things like not platforming Charlie Kirk or using your power to uplift Black voices, right? You're supposed to basically submit and be subordinate to Black consciousness or female consciousness or trans consciousness or whatever the consciousness is. Until,
I wonder how many of them want to uplift Isaiah's Black voice.
Right. Of course, it's not actually.
Wait, whoa. You have experience with that, though, Paul.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about the time you tried giving or even talking about Glenn Lowry, please?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I was talking to my, this was about 3 months before that meeting I was describing in February. In November,
what year was this, Paul? 2021?
This would be 2020.
Okay, 2020. Yeah. Okay.
And I, other than math, I also taught some philosophy courses. I taught a course in Stoicism, which I created. I thought the kids would, this was sort of my way of creating curriculum that would address some of the other things going on in the school. That
Shout out to Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
Seneca.
And I also taught a persuasion class because I figured, one of the things the kids had trouble with was they learned to recite slogans, but they weren't actually, persuasion was difficult to come by. And to persuade, you need to hear arguments that are different from yours. So I was thinking, well, in order to teach like different points of view, could I bring in a reading from Glenn Lowry on, that was counter to what a lot of the, basically everything every explanation for, the struggles of the Black community that they were getting from all their teachers. So I did the thing you're not supposed to do, is I asked for permission instead of asking for forgiveness. I went to my the principal and I said, here's the reading I'd like to present to the kids. I'm going to have these other readings. It's not going to be indoctrinating in the other direction because I want them to discuss it in context. And he said no. He thought it would confuse the children to have a Black voice that did not have a Black opinion. He put it a certain way that I put in the article, and he thought it would be better if I used a white conservative to describe that position. And I said, well, this is a professor at a school that we aspire to send our children to at Brown University.
Yeah, highly respected.
And he is a Black man. And you're actually telling me not to include this person in the curriculum as an articulation. And I think regardless of race, he's like one of the most, articulate, if I could say that without.
No, you can't. You're not allowed to say anything nice about Black people or you're fucking racist.
He's very well spoken.
Yeah, I should say, he's good with words. Can I say that?
His dialectical ability is sublime.
Yeah.
Right. That would get me.
There you go. That's acceptable. Right? That's acceptable.
And so he shot me. He shot me down, and I was like, okay, I guess I can't do that in the class, or I might get fired. But
can I ask Isaiah a question real quick, Paul? What would you say is a Black opinion? How would you define that?
Yeah, I'm curious.
It's a Black opinion. Anyway, sorry. Go
Black
ahead,
opinion. Hillary Clinton really does carry hot sauce in her purse.
Black opinion. I'm only gonna vote for Biden and Democrats.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, I ain't black.
Right, exactly. Yeah. We don't. Yeah, like I absolutely. I'm gonna be honest with you. What
Can't take it, man.
this? You know what it is? I'm gonna show y'all something real quick. I'm gonna share.
Oh, you got something?
Because I feel like this is Herbert Marcuse
Oh,
from 1969.
Oh,
there
Okay.
we go. Here we go.
I believe the name of it. It's called An Essay on Liberation. Okay, from 1969. And it says, quote, the ghetto population of the United States constitutes such a force. Confined to small areas of living and dying, it can be more easily organized and directed. Moreover, located in the core cities of the country, the ghettos form natural geographical centers from which the struggle can be mounted against targets of vital economic and political importance. In this respect, the ghettos can be compared with the Faubourgs of Paris in the 18th century, and their location makes for spreading and contagious upheavals.
Sounds like some BLM riot stuff.
Yup.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it does. In fact, I'm gonna take it back. Wait, where is it? Where is it? That's backgrounds. Hold a second. This actually, this reminds me of it reminds me actually of this.
The goal of the international communist conspiracy is world domination. They have thus far been highly successful in accomplishing the step-by-step objectives necessary for reaching that goal. In the United States, the communist plans call for two revolutions at once. A revolution of a supposedly oppressed proletariat or working class against a capitalistic system that is supposed to breed wage slavery, unemployment, poverty, crises, and war. The second revolution is a revolt of the supposedly poor and oppressed Negroes of the Black Belt against the supposed lynching, segregation, social ostracism, and exploitation of the white man. Currently, what the communists call their Negro Revolutionary Movement, now masquerading behind the humanitarian banners of civil rights, is contributing tremendous momentum to the communist plans to take over the United States.
That is why black people vote Democrat in droves. That right there. I am convinced of this. And Paul, I am absolutely going to blame you for this, just because you're the only white person here, and you're by default, we have to take out all of our microaggressions onto you.
That's that white gaze, man. The white gaze is killing me today.
Yeah. Listen. The white gaze would not make me uncomfortable unless we're like around 14th Street in Manhattan. Okay, just saying. Or in Williamsburg.
Or if we're in a sauna together.
Well, but
anyways, with no towels on.
Oh yeah. Fuck. No, like the fact of the matter is, like the fact that culture has just has degraded, and the fact that a guy like Glenn Lowry, who is a black conservative, okay, who has been one of like if you think he's a beast now, and he has a great podcast, him and John McWhorter, have a fantastic podcast.
Yeah, he had one of them on here too.
McWhorter a few years ago.
Get one of those guys on there. I'm putting out the signal.
God, I'd love to.
We get one of those guys on.
Yo, those two are busy.
Yeah.
Those two are
Paul,
busy.
put in a good word for us, Paul. I know you got the end with those gentlemen.
Actually, I don't. They did mention me, like, but they had forgotten who I was and they confused me with somebody else.
We didn't forget about you.
But there, you guys know me. But I was just glad to come up at all on their show.
But think about it this way. But think of it, right? The fact that these people, and I'm guessing these are primarily like white, like white people who were saying this stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
In your like your faculty leaders and all that. The fact that they said that a black voice coming up with a having a different have a difference of opinion than what they'd already implanted into kids' heads tells me everything I need to know about how deeply and genuinely racist these fucking people are. I have told people for years that the left is far more racist than the right.
Oh, definitely.
Because the left actually thinks the left will stand, and I got to find this. The left will stand and create these racially segregated spaces for certain affinity groups, stand outside of said groups, stand as guards, fully masked, by the way. They will stand guard and act like they're doing something by, they think that they're protecting, that they're using their white bodies to protect these poor, this pen of poor innocent of black people. Because again, black people are pets to these assholes. We are pets to most white to white leftists. Blacks are pets. We are nothing more. We are dogs. We are nothing more than people to be. We are nothing more than pets to be doted on.
Yeah, and there's a transaction. There's an implicit transaction there. And the transaction is by taking care of the pet, they are actually enjoying their own benevolence. Like, look at what a good person I am.
Yeah.
For treating, this other person so well after these other bad white people treated them so badly. So I get to feel good about myself. It's ultimately extremely a selfish proposition.
So the leftists are treating black people like rescue
racist
animals.
And rescue
animals.
This is the anecdote I kind of wanted to share with you guys because it's not in the article.
Come on,
because it was hard to sort of. I mean, I had like 20,000 words. I had to cut it down to
Apostate Radio exclusive.
So yeah,
Paul Rossi.
So
featuring Isaiah Carter.
So one of the great moments for the school was Black History Month, and with the dean of the 9th grade, who was a very interesting woman. I actually learned a lot from her. I learned so much from, even as this was going on. I was learning a lot about things, but she would she had this. She would take, when a new 9th grader would come to the high school, if that was a student of color, she would kind of take them under her wing and be like the mama, and like tell them how to navigate, the white society and listen to songs with them and dance with them. And she was just sort of like this maternal figure, but also, stern and kind of a taskmaster and like keep them working hard. She did
both.
She did some good things. But it was kind of like a surrogate mother type thing, and it kind of crossed some boundaries. But anyway, it was kind of the thing that you do in a private school. Like you're almost paying for the teacher to cross certain boundaries, which is why they have so many sexual scandals, by the way.
Wow.
But so, it's weird, but that's in a New York elite private school. But what they would do during Black History Month is that, they would work on doing a program to do a special church service in this beautiful, gorgeous cathedral, which is Grace Church Cathedral, which was designed by the same architect who built St. Patrick's. It's just got such a pedigree.
Right.
But for this, the Black History Month 2020, she had all the students dress in black and sort of do this Beyonce thing or kind of dance and march like they were marching in formation. And they had like, this is what we say to white culture. We say nah, like NAH, with a period. And like, then they get up there and they had all like done these like total fist up poems, like these political poems, about, and some of them were reminiscences about, how they'd been mistreated by the white gaze or whiteness in their lives. And so this was sort of like the great demonstration of the successful indoctrination, right? And then as the spectacle's unfolding, and I'm just there with sort of like, looking with my head in my hands, because I know that these kids came into the 9th grade like fun loving, and they're kids, they're just children, like, and now they've been politicized and weaponized.
They turned to the Mao's Red Guard.
Right. And so, but that was actually, you have all these white teachers and administrators in the front that are just smiling and beaming and patting themselves on the back, saying like, how wonderfully enlightened are we, that we are like, we are helping these children become their true selves and their true identity, because to them, like, their blackness had been repressed, and now they were releasing this thing that was there the whole time.
And now they're just out here rejecting white culture on stage.
And it kind of hit me. I'm like, this is minstrelsy. Like, this is a twisted kind of minstrelsy where they're acting out this caricature of what they imagine like a socially aware, conscious black person would do. And I just kind of was like, I was like nauseated, but also kind of fascinated, but horrified. Because these are real children. Like, these are like young minds that are being like this.
Now imagine that. And then if they're here in New York, right? We're talking about a New York school. So imagine this, right? You're one of these kids, okay, or you're the parent of one of these kids, and you hear this. Okay, hold on. Let me just
showing off your new card, Isaiah. Huh?
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
Oh, fuck up.
What do they use in black schools, Isaiah? Like sundials and abacus? What's
I played that for the kids that I taught.
Malt liquor and fried chicken on an abacus.
I put that clip on the screen in front of my students in my advisory. So they're all black. They're all from the Bronx. And I was like, what do you guys think of this? This is the governor of your state. And I played that for them. And there was like an awkward pause. And they were just like, and then one guy was like, I know what a computer is. And then like another kid was like, that's racist.
I bet you do.
Like, yeah.
That is racist. Yes,
she's our governor. I know what to tell you.
That's the governor of your state, children.
Yeah, I know.
That's the governor of our state. That's the lady who makes most of the big decisions. Okay. Yeah.
I was actually really pleased by that school, because a lot of the kids were pretty based. Like, I mean, some of it is self-selection because their parents are sending them to the school. They choose to, they want to go there. But, one kid ran in, actually these boys ran in totally, between classes, and we're like, Mr. Rossi, like, how many genders are there? And they was like waited for me to say it. And I was like, my children, there are 2 genders. Then they screamed and like, yes, and they ran out.
It gives you hope for the future.
They were very happy that someone was going to tell them.
Well, when you spend so much time trying to force this unnatural shit down people's throats, okay, and everybody knows that this shit is only really for the benefit of the adults pushing it, right? Like that's what it is. Yeah. It's like this isn't for anyone else but the adults. Okay, this don't help nobody but the adults, and then you end up with this fuckery, okay, that I'm about to show you. Yeah, you end up with this shit right here. Some gigantic
Blossom. She got hers powerhouse.
The Blossom Powerhouse. Lovely to meet you.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Fuck out of here. No. Get the fuck away from me.
You know what the funny thing is too?
No. But see, but again, that's what they want to. That's what they want to force on everybody.
Yeah.
They want children, not just blacks, right? But they want children to look at that thing and go, "Oh, that's a woman." Like they're literally forcing perversions onto children because they want to induce mental illness on these kids. let me ask you a question, Paul. I mean this seriously. Did you happen, like, in your experience as a teacher, have you come across like these adults, these teachers, administrators, whatever? Have you caught any of them like trying to get these kids to hold two opposite positions in their minds, and to be able to deploy them at any moment? Like, what's your experience with that?
I'm not sure what you mean. Do you have anything specific like that you're thinking of?
You know what? I had the idea in my head. It's like, you know what? You know what? That's not a great question. Okay, I take it back.
I mean, maybe
I'll have to.
It is,
what I mean is, okay. Let me just make so, like you were saying earlier about how you dealt with adults who would say, I'm racist if I do this, right? If I have this belief in my head. Mm-hmm. But then if I deny that, if I say I'm racist, if I say I'm not a racist, I'm a racist.
Yeah, I mean, but this is the default, double bind. Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking.
So psychologically, like the learned helplessness that people experience in struggle sessions and things like that, where they're just completely cowed and they feel ashamed because they're given like two contradictory positions that they have to follow both in order to be a good person. And if they follow one path, they're a bad person because they don't do the other thing. If they follow and they're contradictory. So, you know,
I got a good example of that.
So one thing they would tell the kids is like, you have to constantly interrogate how you're reinforcing white culture, and this is something that you have to struggle with, and you really need to take it seriously and talk about those things within yourself. And simultaneously, you cannot make this all about you. Okay. So if you make it all about yourself, then you're not centering Black people. So you'll have this, they're basically imagine it like a psychological boxing ring, and you're slapping the person on one side of their head. And when they defend them on one side, they slap them on the other. And they're getting buffeted by two contradictory impulses. Another one is they had this thing called the pyramid of racism, which is a common instrument. And at the top of the pyramid is genocide, right? And then underneath it, they have things like the KKK and lynchings, and and at the base of the pyramid, well, the gaze is on there, but it's sort of like middle to lower because it's so common. And then they have things like locally sourced schools is on there, like
locally sourced schools.
So yes, so like the pyramid, the whole idea of the pyramid is that the little things uphold the big things. So if you do the little things, you're actually providing the foundation for genocide. So it raises the stakes on low stakes things. And it's a cult mechanism. I mean, they do this in all kinds of cults. And then one of the two things that are next to each other, I'm just going to finish this one part of the pyramid, is they say, believe, like, not believing people of color, right? That's on the pyramid. And right next to it is, but my Black friend says. So in quotes. So what that means is if you don't listen to people of color, well, then you're upholding genocide. But if you say, well, my Black friend said this, and I listened to him, and it's not the politically approved message, well, then you're upholding genocide.
Yeah, you're uplifting the wrong voice.
Simultaneously listen, right? So, if I said, well, my Black friend Glenn Lowry said, well, that's upholding genocide. But if I don't listen to the right people of color, and how do I know who the right people of color are? Well, I have to listen to people of color to tell me that. And I don't know in advance who the good people or the bad people are. So I'm now in this totally
in a bind
swimming. Yeah, I'm swimming in this place where I guess I just have to listen to the most recent Black person and, trust them. And my agency is completely handed because I don't even know when I'm being racist. I have to listen to, a Black person who's going to set me straight. So
you have to visit your oracle,
and I don't, you have to go talk to the oracle, but you can't actually have them do the work for you. Right. So
you have to read how to be an anti-racist.
Right. So you have to do the reading
and white fragility.
That's such
then go talk to them.
Fucking shit, man.
Right. So of course it is totally this concept. It's this Rube Goldberg contraption of self-criticism, and it really is. It's very Maoist. And
there's another example I could point to too, and there's another one after that, I think. But one of them is probably, you guys know, obviously gentrification is that's racist and bad, and it oppresses Black people, people of color. What's the other? What's the opposite of that?
Well, when Walgreens moves out of the neighborhood, well, then you're racist because
there's a term for it. Do you guys know that? You guys know what the term is?
What is it? Degentrification? What is it?
It's white flight.
White flight.
White
yes,
flight. Yeah. White flight. So you can't move in, you can't move out.
Yeah.
If you're white, it's like either way you're racist, man.
It's ridiculous. I'm actually looking for something right now.
And cultural appropriation's another one. They did a good. I don't know if you guys saw "Am I Racist?" with Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh's.
That was good.
Oh, that single-handedly ended. What's her face?
Oh, D'Angelo.
Robin D'Angelo.
He brought up a good point with one of the DEI women. It was some white lady, I believe, and he's like, he's like, he's like, you don't want a cultural appropriation. First of all, I think they complain about like, hey, you white girls prefer white princesses, white little girls prefer white princesses, and they don't want to have the Black princess or the brown princess, the Pocahontas doll, whatever, right? So he's like, and so it's like, so we have to, but we can't wear, like, my daughter loves Moana and she wants to wear the Moana costume, but she can't because that's cultural appropriation.
Yeah, I remember.
So she got to pick the white princess again. It's like, and she's like, yeah, I guess I don't know. Of course, she doesn't know what the hell to say to that. But it's just
right.
It's
In fact,
those things.
What I watched, very interesting what the DEI people would say, because the point is not to have an answer in that situation. The point is to let the white person sit with their discomfort. So it's like and be sympathetic, but not do the work for them. So like when they're in that type of situation, they're just supposed to experience the discomfort, come to terms with it, and that's just a tiny taste of the discomfort that that their ancestors have put others through.
So
it's just a little bit. It's just like a little bit of comeuppance there for them.
A little bit, and there's a lot more where that came from.
Right. And you should be grateful that we let you live.
But keep on self-flagellating. Waiting.
I'm going to be honest with you. This is quite simply the most despicable shit I've ever seen in my life. Like honestly, this is why I have genuinely come to hate Marx, like the left. I genuinely hate this entire
ideology
system, the entire ideology.
Agreed.
I was up close and personal with this ideology 4 years ago. I slept next to it at night. Like this is like,
better not man spread on that bed, man.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, having been so like right up to here with it and not knowing what it was, just figuring, she's just like, okay, so she's gone to this school and that school, and she works for a particular nonprofit that works in education. Like, I knew nothing of this. But then after that, to see all this stuff come up, and then to just be reminded, like, oh my God, there's real evil taking place in our society right now. It's like, why would anybody send their kid to college? Why would anybody send their like if they're going to go to school, especially if they're a girl? Why would you send your daughter to or your son, like either one really? But why would you send your child into one of these intellectual cult these cult compounds that the university system has become?
Well, I can tell you why. I can tell you how the elite
cult compounds that leave you in like six figures of student debt.
So the elites are, and every society has them, right? They're Brahmins. They have the status. They have the prestige. They preserve their wealth. They take different forms. But the way they think about it is they're totally opportunistic. Like, this is the discourse. This is the language that my child needs to know in order to survive. This is the special words they need to say
to show you're high class.
Yes, to speak
and educated, enlightened.
So like, it's like the luxury beliefs thing that who's the guy that talks about, is it Rob Henderson? Luxury beliefs. Anyway,
I forget.
but,
yeah, I know what you're talking
but
about.
you know, like this is the language that will mark you as special, and you have to know how to tell the right story on your college application, and you need to say the right things in your essays. And this is the pathway to power, to preserve power, so you can get to college and network and have that Ivy League name on your diploma, and that, you know, that's going to catapult you. And they don't care. Like, they literally, I think it bugs them a little bit. Some of the parents are like, yeah, this is bullshit. But you know what? They're like, just put up with it, kid. And like, you're eventually going to get, you know, you're going to make a ton of money, and just say the right stuff and don't step out of line. So
sell your soul.
Yeah. So that's what they're, and the impact of that on those kids is worse than the true believer kids, because what they learn, what the kids who dissent from it but keep quiet learn, is they learn to lie. They learn to lie, and it costs them their soul. If there's a true believer student, eventually that student could change their mind and actually, you know, they're used to speaking their beliefs. And if they wake up, or they get in their 20s or 30s or 40s and they see something else, they'll speak up about that too, I think. Whereas it's a more depressing outcome for the student that conceals themselves, because then they're like hiding their light under the bushel.
It's soul crushing. Yeah, it's soul crushing. And you learn to lie to yourself, lie to other people. You learn to not speak up when you need to speak up.
Yeah,
like you did,
so
Paul.
There were some boys. There were some boys that spoke up, even they knew it was unpopular. And it's usually the boys, because the boys are not as compliant, like some of them.
Right.
And one kid was like, I like Nietzsche. He was just like, he like latched onto Nietzsche, because Nietzsche was like a big middle finger to all of this
defiant,
this phony,
fearless,
religious, waspy crap, you know, that had been corrupted. And it was a way to get back. And everyone was like, yeah, Nietzsche's great. I was like totally validated. Like, go for that. Go for it. Like, you know,
great jumping off point.
So, you know, there was still some punk rock in even those kids, in this very rarefied atmosphere of.
It's hard. That's a spirit that it's always going to be there. It should always be there. You know, unless I guess you have a totalitarian communist state where as soon as you pop your head out, they chop it off.
But a lot of the boys were sort of baited, because they wanted dates, they wanted the pretty girls, and then the girls were pretty much 80% on board.
They'll swipe left if you're a Trump supporter.
Right. And
exactly. Saw a lot of that in the dating.
I saw a lot of that in dating apps too, even when I was still single. People constantly, I'd see, if you're Republican, if you're I'd see that probably every fourth profile or something like that.
So you have to be willing to be true to yourself during puberty, which is, God knows how hard that is when your hormones are raging. You can't compromise your beliefs. There has to be something more important than sex for you as a you know, pubescent boy, which is hard, right? You have to be like independent. And the kids that were the most resistant were the ones that had strong religious foundation, because they had a competing moral system they were raised in.
Yeah.
You know, and that gave them, you know, that's why they really need to get into the religions and change the code of the religions.
Yeah, exactly. And also dismantling the nuclear family, dismantling American secular, quote unquote, American secular religion of, like, you know, if you work hard, you'll do well. It's the land of the free, home of the brave, all that great stuff. Let's destroy that, dismantle that. So there's nothing to really believe in besides what they did. It's a cultural revolution, right? It's what it is. It's just destroying the old traditions, the old virtues, all of that. It's Maoist. It really is. Maoist.
It is absolutely Maoist. It is absolutely.
It's a culture.
Maoist.
It's a culture killer.
That's what it's meant to do. That's exactly what it's meant
dangerous.
to do.
That's dangerous.
It is meant to destroy cultures. It is it's as many things. Is this what it is? Like this is what we are up against, the greatest evil that was never supposed to come to our shores.
Yeah.
I firmly believe this. This, for leftism, I remember last year when I was in Jamaica with my fiance, and we were riding back out to St. Catherine Parish, where where Kareem, where we were staying. And I had a pretty deep conversation with my fiance's uncle. Okay. Great guy, worked in politics most of his life, works in real estate. Great guy. Okay. I love, and we were talking, and I remember telling him, because again, most Black people, and I'm coming across this with like coworkers now, they can't possibly comprehend why a Black man would vote for someone who they've been programmed so intensely to hate, such as Donald Trump. And I remember saying something to him, and I said, something is fundamentally wrong with the Democrat Party. And what that fundamental wrong is they've been suffused with communism. We are talking about a full-blown leftist, we are talking about a full-blown Marxist movement. This right here is what scares me the most about our current moment. Okay, from the School of Life. And it says, it is a grim paradox that the worst deeds of that humans have ever been guilty of have been carried out by people with an easy conscience, people who felt they were definitely on the side of angels, people who were entirely sure that they had justice in hand. What unites the people who report their neighbors to the secret police, the crowds who burn their victims at stakes while dancing around their agonized bodies, the government officials who set up purification camps, and the nations that wipe out their enemies with special barbarism, is their consistent and overwhelming sense that they are doing the right thing in the eyes of God, history, or truth.
Yep, exactly.
When trying to understand why people do evil things, never start from the position of imagining that they understood them as evil. Remember that they would have carried out their nastiness cocksure that they were paragons. An impassioned feeling of being the instrument of justice has been at the heart of humanity's most appallingly unkind moments.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say something like that right before you did that, because that's why it's more dangerous. I think the left in this woke, progressive, neo-Marxist, neo-Maoist stuff is much more dangerous because it is in the cloak of virtue, in the cloak of diversity and inclusion and acceptance. So it's like, how do you even argue against that? It has titles like anti-racism, anti-fascist, right? So this is a trick of the left, and like they don't teach anybody about communism really in schools so much for like the last 2 decades at least, and how they killed over 100 million people in many different countries. They don't teach about that. All you do is hear about Nazis, fascists all day, all year long, and how evil Europe and America are with slavery.
And it's how you end up.
But they don't talk about the communists at all. So it's like they just brush that to the side. No, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about
Tell me.
So like to them, it's like, of course, this is good. This is good. We're helping with diversity. We're including everybody. We're being empathetic. But we know what happens with this stuff. We know how it's destroying our culture. It's destroying the West in a lot of ways, and we know it could get even further if it gets fully. We've seen what happened in other socialist and communist countries, so it can go worse.
This is how you end up with shit like this happening.
If the UCC was really as open and affirming as it claims to be, then there would be trans people of color in every UCC church. But that would also require the UCC to reckon with its white supremacy culture. 90% of the UCC
white male
is white,
and drag.
And if you look a little deep into the history, you will see that the UCC has its roots in American colonialism. looking at the congregational churches and looking at this one right here too. Just being honest.
Good God.
Well, I think I think unfortunately, like our culture is like the culture that preceded this. We talk maybe like conservative culture, traditional culture has a lot to look in the mirror about because we kind of enabled it.
Yeah.
Like we were a lot of people who could have protected against this abdicated their responsibility to do so. And they got carried away with, the 60s and kind of the cultural malaise and really being skeptical about things, that actually help to preserve traditional things. And that's what I try to do with the teacher network is that we have, and we come from all different political stripes. So we have liberals and we have conservatives but we believe in traditional teaching. And that means teaching both sides of a case. If we talk about history, this is what these people thought. This is what these people thought. What do you think are the benefits of both? We tend to focus on direct instruction as a method rather than, this fad of letting the kids think up whatever they think is truth. And then they never actually learn what is truth because it's whatever they imagine. And it's special and beautiful, just the way it is. We don't believe that. But, I will say this. I think that everything is right for a certain time. So I could definitely see the right becoming a victim of its own success if things are trending in the right way. And then, and then they would have the pendulum would swing too far and they would have things that I would criticize. And there are certainly things like that. But I think the overwhelming pressure right now is even with Trump, you have all of these people were educated at these schools of education to go teach children in this manner. I mean, the seminal text of schools of education is the one that sort of the moral Bible is Paulo Freire's The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. I mean, he was a Brazilian Marxist. He teaches, how education must be liberatory and, the children should lead us and they should, just be conscientized on their own oppression matrix and all this other stuff. And all of those teachers, there are millions of them are still out there no matter what Trump does. And they're all going to continue to perhaps reframe and change their resumes up a little bit, but they're going to be in front of your kids just like that. So, the way I like to teach is, I don't just teach math. I also teach other subjects. And the way I try to do is like, whatever context I'm in, if I'm in a context where all the kids believe X, I want to present them with the best arguments for Y and why X is not always correct. And then they can, once they learn all the other side, then they can decide for themselves whether they lean on the X side or the Y side, whatever the argument is. And if I was in a place where all the kids believed Y, I would teach them X. And I would say, what are the arguments for X? Do you really know the arguments for X? Could you argue with somebody who knew? And a lot of times the kids are deprived because if they have one moral foundation, they never learn the countering argument. So you can't just ask them to come up with stuff on their own because they never learned the other side of the case. So that's sort of I don't believe in just letting the kids figure stuff out for themselves because they're always going to take the easiest path. Not all of them, but most of them. And it's incumbent on the teacher to break, to disrupt their patterns of thought so they can actually learn something new and then internalize that and then actually have an internal debate.
Real quick, guys, I just want to read a quote. Just to quote Mr. John Stuart Mill, "He who knows only his own side of the case knows little of that."
Yeah,
that sounds to sum up philosophy, which is a really that's true.
I gotta
education.
find that one.
That's true education.
Now,
I'll send you the link.
To Paul's earlier point about Freire, this right here sums it up. Is that Freire discussed the use of liberatory pedagogies, specifically for the use of criticality in the development of critical consciousness in those who are oppressed. In the Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Freire defined conscientização as the awakening of critical consciousness, which he proffers could lead, quote, to the expression of social discontents precisely because these discontents are real components of an oppressive situation. He stated that the awakening of an individual's consciousness is what leads to their liberation. His premise is that there are those who are oppressed and are unaware of their status as oppressed. It is through using what Freire refers to as liberatory pedagogies and critical literacies, specifically, that these individuals may gain awareness of their status. Once aware, they can only gain freedom or liberation through struggle. This is deep. Yeah. This is demonic, depraved shit.
I'd like to know what he means by liberation for a lot of these people. Like, I mean, I understand if you're under like a dictatorship or something, or it's like severe income inequality and the people are barely eating on the bottom. That makes sense, right? But it's like they use this for like America. How many people are like really need to be liberated in America?
Well, this was the sort of in the 50s the Marxists had to reinvent themselves because America was so prosperous. And the working class, it was so productive, and they were, you could a single salary, you could get a home, and you could have 2 kids and have leisure time, and drive your car,
American
and all these wonderful plans. So they had to reinvent conscience, like awakening of class consciousness had to be transferred into the cultural realm. So they were reducing people to consumers and consumer culture, and so a true Marxist awakening would be freeing yourself from the shackles of the dishwasher or, like whatever, all these wonderful products that were part of consumer culture, because it was trapping your mind in this matrix of pleasures. And so they had to free, and then they used, the ghetto populations, they used gender, they used, the oppression of women, and they found these other mechanisms that were not based in class
to stay relevant,
to stoke discontent and fire up the resentment.
No, it's interesting because it sounds sometimes like they think that people just don't need to suffer ever, don't need to work ever, don't need to have any kind of inconvenience ever. It's like, man, you are a living thing on earth. Like that's the fucking name of the game on earth, man. And even if you're like, even if you're like, the most wealthy, privileged person, as a human being, you figure out ways to make yourself miserable if you don't keep yourself busy in some good work. Some decent work.
Yeah, well, this is the
you can be
loaded vision.
Yeah, right? you will drive yourself nuts somehow.
Before there was culture in a state of nature, people were perfect and they gave everything freely to each other. There was no evil, right? It's the Garden of Eden. And then society and oppression took that away from us. So we actually externalize our sin into society. Whereas, Thomas Sowell's, constrained vision actually says, no, human beings are not limitless in their potential. They have sin, they have evil. We try to devise the best governmental mechanisms to control that and manage it, but we're never going to get a perfect society. So it's very much like,
and people aren't limitless in their potential either. That's another thing that gets like people have their own. They have certain personality or talents, and sometimes they're not that talented. Some people have a very low IQ and they can only do certain jobs. And there's some people who are really smart, but they cannot do certain jobs, no matter how smart they are. They're not smart at that. Like if you're like an analytical, mathematical mind, maybe you're not. It's going to be really difficult for you to do language stuff and ideas and philosophy, or vice versa, right?
Well, the thing that religion does is even with those differences in abilities and talents, we're all children of God, and we all deserve to respect each other as equals, right? So,
100%.
But when you lose the
it's not that we're
religious part,
I would disagree with you on one thing. It's not that we deserve, it's that we're called to by God. Like that's a calling. That's something that we are commanded by God to do. Like that's there's a duty to do what you were talking about, Paul. Sorry about that.
No, and I would also add to that too. It's not all just a calling. It's also the reason why I think a lot of religions believe that like we're all equal in the eyes of God is because we all have divine spark. We all have a soul, right? Like we all have a part of God in us, which I also believe. And I'm not a religious person. I just believe that happens to be true.
Marcus Aurelius called it the fragment of divinity. It's like you have a shard.
I never heard that before.
Like
that's
a crystal.
exactly right. That's what I believe.
Crystal in yourself somewhere.
Yeah,
and
it pops up when you conceived, probably, and you're sitting there,
and
pop it up, and you become a baby.
That fragment is part of what he called the world soul. So the world soul was this monist kind of collective.
That's how I look at it.
And now we're broken. Yeah, we can't get back to that, but we have this little messenger within us, which is the divine element.
So we all have a lot of value because we are part of God. I mean, God is the most valuable thing. Being a part of God is pretty fucking valuable as well. Part of my French Lord in heaven.
So Paul, I really appreciate you coming on to the show with us tonight, man. I really
Thanks
do.
for having me. Yeah, it was a great discussion.
You are someone who we absolutely want to have back on here.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'm going to do a better job of staying in touch with you. Where can people find your work? Anything that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
If you're if any of your listeners right now are a teacher, you want to get in touch with me, my DMs are open. Look on X. I'm at Paul D. Rossi, PAULD as in Damien. That's my middle name, Rossi. You can find me there. You can find, I tweet a lot, or X a lot, whatever you want to call it. You can see some of my work is in my bio if you follow the links. And
and what's the name of the website where the other
Terra Firma Teaching Alliance is the name of our teacher network, and we're at tfteach.org. tfteach.org.
tfteach.org. That is where you can find Mr. Rossi's major project, the Terra Firma project. Please make sure to hit this man up. This is a very, very highly intellectual brother, and you are my brother regardless of race. The only thing that I require, sir, since you are of Italian descent, is that you better have a really good fucking vodka sauce recipe. That's all I ask of you.
Yeah. I've got a puttanesca that you're gonna.
Oh, I love puttanesca, man. The capers, the anchovies.
Oh yeah,
I love it. I love a salty red sauce, man. Paul, appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Do it again.
Thanks.
Yeah, we really do. Thank you so much, man. Awesome. What an
episode, huh? That was a lot, man. That was a two back-to-back substantial, there's a lot of times we screw around on here. Like we had Edgar the other day and Puppet Edgar. Shout out to Puppet Edgar. But this was kind of a little more serious, I feel like, in some ways,
Which and you know something, honestly, I feel like it's something that we needed. Because there are very serious issues out here.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll chop it up.
I agree with you. I agree.
We're gonna laugh about stuff. We tried to keep it light, especially in the second.
But there are
part.
important things we're talking about here. But first, with the correctional officers and the prison situation, which is ridiculous, with Mr. Pinion and Joseph Pinion. So look out for that, and also with Paul Rossi with the education, man. I mean, those are both real serious issues.
Exactly.
That everybody needs to pay attention to. It's not blown out of proportion. It's not a right-wing talking point. It's not a conspiracy theory or something. This is real. These people are talking about real things that are happening to real people.
Exactly. And ladies and gentlemen, want to thank you for watching or listening or checking out the clips, which we will be clipping up later of this broadcast. We greatly appreciate all of your support. You can reach us at either Isaiah L. Carter or at Nostra Chavez. You can see them down here. You can also follow the show's account at Apostate Radio NY. Please be sure also to support the show. We thank you. So we thank all of you who have given money to us here. We thank you. buymeacoffee.com/apostate radio. We thank you for all gifts that you send our way. We are working towards
Shout out to Alexis Irvine, by the way. Shout out to Alexis Irvine, one of our supporters.
Yes.
Maha Uncensored. I know, Alexis, sorry we're a little late with that, but really appreciate
we're sorry about that.
And Maha Uncensored for becoming a supporter as well. We have some new membership tiers too that you might find interesting on buymeacoffee.com, Apostate Radio, with some special opportunities and privileges. So all support is appreciated.
Absolutely. We leave you tonight with the full, I'm going to read this full
Mr.
quote.
John Stuart Mill.
By John Stuart Mill. He who knows only his own side of the case knows little of that. His reasons may be good, and no one may have been able to refute them. But if he is equally unable to refute the reasons on the opposite side, if he does not so much as know what they are, he has no ground for preferring either opinion, nor is it enough that he should hear the opinions of adversaries from his own teachers presented as they state them and accompanied by what they offer as refutations. He must be able to hear them from persons who actually believe them, and he must know them in their most plausible and persuasive form.
Steelman.
In other words, ladies and gentlemen, go out there and talk to people you don't fucking agree with. Go find community with people who you don't know. Okay. All of this garbage about platforming evil people and only listening and you only knowing what you know from what you might have gotten from Joy Reid or Rachel Maddow or whatever. Okay. Or what you might have seen in certain liberal and certain leftist circles. Don't be these people. Okay.
We're in the middle of a hostile government takeover. I wanna talk about it, but I'll be late for work. And if you say wait a minute, do we have to stop this? We had one, but
don't be that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, don't be that. Nose can't help himself. Okay,
I have to dance to.
Yeah. Nose can't help himself. So I give him a pass. But folks, please do not let these people who are trying to divide us, do not let them win. Our country, our society is worth more than being atomized by totalitarians. It honestly is. I love my country. I love New York City. And I'm so glad to live in a country that, as flawed, as imperfect as it is, we are able to speak opinions freely as men and as men. And I praise God for this. So we thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you once again. Have a great night. Nos, thank you, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody listening. Thanks, Paul Rossi. Thanks, Joe Pinion. Appreciate everybody.
Thanks, y'all.